Boom, the heavy stone door was pushed open. Sect Master Miss Ying is inside. The black-clad disciple respectfully clasped his hands, not daring to look directly at the person in front of him. Within his line of sight, the sect master's robe, as thick and red as fresh blood, fluttered. You may withdraw first. Without this sect master's command, you are not to enter. The other party's voice was low, carrying an imposing aura that commanded respect without anger. The black-clad disciple quickly retreated. The sect master brushed his robes, leisurely walking into the room. Whoosh! A tearing sound rang out. The sect master didn't even lift his eyes, casually blocking with his wide sleeve. The exquisite plum blossom vase instantly turned into powder, scattering in the air. The person inside still intended to throw more objects, but the sect master gave her no chance, calmly extending a hand and drawing the object through the air. In the blink of an eye, Miss Ying was in his palm, her delicate throat clutched. Because of the difficulty breathing, the young lady's face flushed crimson. She struggled to squeeze out a few words. Wrong, Huan. You big devil. You can kill anyone. Cough, cough. If you dare to touch me, I'll bite my tongue. I'd rather die than let you succeed. Wrong, Huan chuckled. If you wanted to commit suicide, you would have hanged yourself from the beam long ago. Why wait until now to threaten this sect master? Miss Ying, rest assured, I am not fond of female beauty. The young lady's face showed shock. What? This wasn't the script a peerless beauty like her was supposed to get, was it? No, she needed to calm down. This scoundrel must be trying to confuse her, then force himself upon her, then make it a done deal. The young lady surveyed the sect master's tall, upright, and aloof figure, and ever so slightly, her face reddened. Rong Huan observed one of the male lead's future concubines. Although she felt the other party's expression was unusual, this did not prevent her from exuding the evil aura of a great villain. This sect master came today to ask if you finished writing the plea for help letter. Plea for love letter. Do murderous devils, who don't bat an eye, now know how to be romantic? The great devil couldn't help but sigh, correcting her like an old man. It's a plea for help letter. Our female lead's professional ethics so lax these days. Being this ultimate great villain truly vexed her. She felt no sense of accomplishment at all. Rong Huan gave up on normal communication with the female lead. She placed a gleaming knife against her neck, forcing the young lady to write a heartfelt, tear-jerking, and soul-bearing denunciation letter. It had to vividly describe how the great devil Rong had committed countless heinous crimes, cruelly forced good people into prostitution, and engaged in various unspeakable atrocities, asserting that if this scoundrel were not eliminated, it would truly be an affront to heavenly principles, and so on. Good, is it good? The young lady's hands were trembling as she copied, her gaze shifting from that of a malicious admirer directly to the 18th layer of hell for the mentally ill. Rong Huan was very satisfied. Excellent. Although the female lead's survival skills were a bit poor, her handwriting was still good. Coupled with her perfect choice of words and phrasing, even she felt that if she didn't die, how could she atone to the world? Therefore, the great devil Rong happily decided that tonight she could give her an extra chicken leg, no, two. After all, she had to thank the female lead for promoting the plot's development. She, this great villain who had committed countless heinous crimes, cruelly forced good people into prostitution, and was cruel and vicious, was finally going to get her bento box and go offline. Tears streamed down her face, clutching her claws. It was too difficult. She had waited 500 years for this moment. Rong Huan was a quick transmigration agent, holding firmly to the villain's script. As a diligent and honest person, she meticulously fulfilled her duties, suppressing the male and female leads in the early stages, plotting against them in the middle stages, and directly confronting them in the later stages. Then, at the opportune moment, she could happily kick the bucket, take her points, and walk away. However, to be honest, in this day and age, there aren't many villains who get a good deal. All the promising ones are squeezed into the male and female lead departments. After all, falling in love can earn points, unlike them, the villains, who work themselves to death fighting monsters and leveling up, only for all the benefits to fatten the male and female leads' wallets. Alas, life is so difficult, making countless villains bow their backs. Rong Huan stood with her hands clasped behind her back on the stargazing tower, looking up at the sky at a melancholic 45-degree angle, like a young literary enthusiast. The disciples passing by downstairs, seeing their sect master standing against the wind, full of heroic spirit, secretly thought, Even the heroes of this era are nothing more than this in front of the sect master. Then, the sect master said, "System, after this job is done, let's switch to writing romance novels." She spoke with heartfelt emotion. Otherwise, next month they'd be eating dirt. On Rong Huan's shoulder stood a black vulture, which was originally elegantly preening its wings, but upon hearing this, it nearly fell headfirst to the ground. "You, romance novels, are you going to forcibly abduct a civilian man to be your bandit chief's husband? For him, crazy for him, smashing walls for him?" Sorry, it felt that the male lead's chances of dying young were quite high. It wouldn't believe it if it wasn't 98. Rong Huan, the great demon, was displeased. "What do you mean by that? I'm at least a woman, and I can also be a delicate little bird. Don't look down on me." She also had a sparkling maiden heart, okay? It was just that life's difficulties had prevented it from sparkling. The system thought to itself, "Quickly cut it out, you. Don't you have any idea how many big birds you've butchered and eunuchs you've castrated yourself over the years?" It was truly a swift and decisive action. Blade down, hand up, swift and decisive, blade down, hand up, not the slightest hesitation, completely living up to the title of #1 castrator. "System, tell me, when will the male lead arrive?" Rong Huan propped her chin, biting 2 mouthfuls of an apple. It had been a month since the blood-written declaration of war was issued, which was worrying. Why was there no movement in this cultivation world? Her Shura sect was built on the most visible 10-mile mountain, occupying the entire spiritual, with an imposing aura that was truly arrogant. Shouldn't the righteous sects be rushing to kill her? This work efficiency was too low. It wasn't the spring festival travel rush, so could the sky be congested too? The system wasn't too sure. He should be on his way, right? After all, Ying Wudong is his little lover, and also the saintess of Tianjin. They won't just sit by and watch. Rong Huan thought so too, so she could only wait with a melancholic expression like Zaishi. She still felt a little sorry for the female lead. After all, she had locked her in a sunless mountain cave, which was quite pitiful. So she instructed her disciples to prepare good food, a standard meal of 1 vegetarian dish, 3 meat dishes, and a large bowl of thick soup or something. Their Shura sect's prisoner treatment was actually quite nice. "System, do you think the male lead died on the way?" Another day, Rong Huan asked it boredly. Their days were truly too boring. How bored was she? When a disciple came in, they saw their peerlessly beautiful sect master, one hand holding a ball of yarn, the other holding a small needle, her 10 fingers moving nimbly, leaving only terrifying afterimages. The disciple was immediately awed by her aura, couldn't help but take a few steps back and cautiously asked, "Sect master, are you researching a new cultivation technique?" One moment rigid, the next soft, fast and traceless, how profound and unfathomable. The sect master's realm was truly beyond what ordinary people could comprehend. Rong Huan choked. If she were to say that she was knitting a ball of yarn for fun, would it damage her image as a jade tree-like, elegant, handsome, and unrestrained sect master? To avoid her disciples' misunderstanding that she, the sect master, was not doing proper business, but playing with fluffy things, thereby ruining the lofty image she had painstakingly built, Rong Huan straightened her attire and said seriously, "This is the heavenly finger shadowless palm. When cultivated to its extreme, it can not only weave around the entire body of a cultivator, but also use threads as needles to seal 1,300 divine acupoints of a Mahayana cultivator, making it impossible for him to ascend to the heavens or descend to the earth, tormenting him to death with a crushed liver and clawed heart." The disciples were utterly impressed, unable to stop their legs from going soft and kneeling, shouting, "Sect Master's divine is unparalleled. We will follow you through 9 deaths without regret." With such a powerful being presiding over their Usra sect, what was there to fear from Lingyun Mountain's Gui Fa Men, Myriad Beast sect, Heavenly Sound Temple, Misty Pavilion, or Shenang Dao? The disciples turned around and went out to share this good news with the common people. One person's joy was not as good as everyone's joy. At first, the first batch of core disciples who received the news were relatively reserved, saying that the sect master's divine had just been established, and the Usura sect's hegemony was imminent. "Ah, this brother, keep it low-key. We are not what we used to be. We must have some inner substance. You just need to know that the sect master is very powerful, extremely powerful, not just ordinarily powerful, that's enough." When it came to the second echelon of inner disciples, the divine reaching great perfection could no longer satisfy their spreading admiration for the sect master. The junior disciples scratched their heads, using the most advanced vocabulary to embellish the sect master's achievements, saying that with one finger, he could make 10,000 Buddhas disappear. The third relay team thought to themselves, although they were the last disciples to join, they could not lose to their senior brothers and sisters. Now was definitely a very good time to show loyalty to the sect master. Blow until you can't blow anymore, then take a break, drink some water, and blow again. 1 spread to 10, 10 spread to 100. By the time the news reached the punitive alliance formed by the 10 great sects, Rong Huan had transformed from an ordinary demon lord, someone to be feared, into the one whose head touches the sun, moon, and stars. One whose feet tread upon the 9 peaks and rivers. The first person in the cultivation continent, unparalleled in the past and future. The reason he had not yet torn through the void was because his sword still needed to taste the blood of the old ancestors of the 10 great famous sects and holy lands. Arrogant, too arrogant. Rong Huan didn't care what they thought. What excited her was that the demon-slaying alliance was finally coming to her territory. Too excited, she was about to be annihilated. Her points were going to warmly welcome her. Hurry, hurry, line up to welcome, flowers ready. Oh no, it's to prepare for the final head sending. On this day, she had her disciples hide in the prepared tunnels early. These tunnels led to the great spiritual vein mountains. The disciples were familiar with the terrain, so as long as they ran diligently, their lives should be fine. When the elder asked her what was going on, Rong Huan revealed a profound smile. She would never tell these little fools that she was going to die. The elder instantly understood and was very respectful. Was the sect master going to directly challenge the 10 great sects, intending to use this opportunity to comprehend divine and tear through the void? He felt that being able to follow such a decisive sect master, a true man, it was worth dying for. Rong Huan stuffed a bunch of black radishes into the cave, covered it well, and then immediately removed the mountain gate array, welcoming guests generously. She stood on the eaves of the highest stargazing tower, her robes fluttering in the wind, with a setting sun behind her. System, do you feel that my death this time is particularly impactful? She was deeply immersed in the construction of the artistic conception. Under the setting sun, the sorrow of a hero at the end of his road overwhelmed her. She spoke loudly and resonantly. Even if there's only one person, even if the last drop of blood is shed, I, Rong Huan, will never surrender. The system, transformed into a black eagle, suddenly sneezed. A feather floated down. It said mournfully, I don't know if I feel it, but if they don't come soon, I'm going to freeze and catch a cold, fever, and runny nose. You say you're just delivering ahead, why do you have to stand in such a high place? The wind is really strong, okay? Rong Huan sighed profoundly. You don't understand. One must know there's a saying, don't show off, showing off gets you struck by lightning. She had to test it out. What if one day she really was struck by lightning and died? Wouldn't that save her even more trouble? Would the Demon Extermination Alliance still need to travel thousands of mountains and rivers, thousands of miles, to exterminate her? How kind she was, even considering the enemy's travel distance. System? Of course, it didn't understand a lunatic. Meanwhile, on the other side, Granduncle Master, do we still want to continue our crusade against Sect Master Rong? The young disciples were truly restless. As they approached the Shura sect's territory, the atmosphere became dangerous. The old man who was asked, with an air of immortal grace, stroked his snow-white beard and turned to ask another alliance leader. Sect Master Yuan Fang, what do you think about this matter? The other party let out a deep breath. We must have fallen into a trap. Look, the mountain gate is wide open, yet there's no sound of people, which means they calculated our arrival early. Moreover, according to the latest intelligence from the scouts, this Rong Huan has not only mastered the lost divine, heavenly finger shadowless palm, but has probably already broken through to the Mahayana stage. She's just waiting for us to go over and use our essence blood to refine her soul, helping her transcend and ascend. Rong Huan's cultivation was profound. Hearing in all directions was nothing to her. At this moment, hearing this group's discussion, she couldn't help but twitch the corner of her mouth. No, she was simply here to deliver ahead, big brothers. Please fulfill this small wish of hers. Yes, I also felt something was off this time. Look, that blood letter was supposedly written by Miss Ying, but the words were so vicious, they shouldn't have come from the saintess's mouth. It's more like that demon forced her to write it, luring us to crusade against the Shura sect, so she can catch us all in one net and temper her peerless demonic cultivation. The demon was deeply melancholic. At the critical moment, why don't you just charge? Why think so much? Her neck was already clean. Upon hearing this, the various sect masters felt a chill down their spines and repeatedly cursed, truly, truly a treacherous villain. Then they made an extremely solemn decision, a roll of betting dust billowing. They ran faster than flying swords, damn it. The kind that's super fast. Hey, fellow Taoist opposite, stop, damn it. Seeing the fat duck about to fly away, Rong Huan grew anxious. She gathered her chi and her dantian and roared, "If you have guts, don't leave." The young disciple behind her was so startled by her shout that he fell, his shoe caught on a branch. He was about to pick it up when his collar was grabbed by his senior brother. With a whoosh, he was in the sky. His senior brother scolded him, "What time is it? Is your shoe more important than your chastity? If you don't leave now, your primal yang will be sucked dry by the demon." Rong Huan felt a little tired. She had no interest in little sprouts, really. She founded the Shura sect, which cultivates by nourishing nature with blood, not the joyful union sect. Single-person mode and two-person mode are very different. Big brothers, please be reasonable. Don't just spread rumors casually, okay? False business advertising is illegal, do you know that? This scripture, once translated, saw the Asura sect suppress the 10 great sects, becoming the paramount power in cultivation. The cultivator's fear of the unpredictable and mysterious sect master Rong deepened. It is said that he, alone, fought against the elite sect masters of the 10 great sects, repelling the enemy with a single sentence, a truly rare feat. Especially the vividly described heavenly finger shadowless palm, the ultimate nightmare of Mahayana cultivators, became a forbidden topic of discussion for everyone. The system slowly said, "Congratulations, your evil sect team has successfully recruited new members." Currently, the number of active online members is 106,537. Oh, and the male lead has changed his mind. He wants to join your sect as your personal disciple. You are truly amazing, perfectly embodying the essence of turning the villain's bluster into friendship. Oh, also, may I ask when Boss Rong will pay the 300 billion in salary he owes me? The detritan Boss Rong? Wow, the aloof and sharp-tongued system is throwing a tantrum. Can't provoke, can't provoke. Can she be blamed for this? She had just woven a monkey to relieve boredom. Who did she provoke? Who did she offend? Master, Tianji Daijun is here to visit, saying he specifically wishes to become your disciple. The chief disciple of the Asura sect respectfully clasped his hands, interrupting his sect master's daily melancholic sky-gazing. This Tianji Daijun is the honorific title of the male protagonist, Jianghu, who outwardly appears to be a nascent soul cultivator, but is in fact feigning weakness to hide his strength. He had already advanced to the soul transformation stage a year ago, possesses numerous trump cards, and is truly formidable at challenging opponents beyond his level. Rong Huan sighed deeply. All right, let him in. She felt that she might have to activate the cruel and vicious master mode. First take in the male protagonist, then sow discord, make him betray his sect, pursue him relentlessly, and then the male protagonist, transforming hatred into strength, would rise again and stab her, the instigator, to death with a single sword. Rong Huan's mind conjured up tens of thousands of words of love-hate entanglement, unable to help but furrow her brows in distress. This process was too long. She really wanted to shorten it to a single sentence. Is there time or not? Suddenly, amidst a thunderous crash, her mind sparked, and she thought of an extremely clever method. She smiled, beckoning her chief disciple forward. Tianji Daijun, this way please. The disciple properly led the guest. Jianghu nodded, walking and taking in the surrounding scenery, feeling quite surprised. Everyone said the Asura sect was a human hell, rampant with demonic energy, but who would have thought it was such a beautiful place with good mountains and waters, a blessed land? Moreover, the disciples under its command were neatly dressed and full of spirit. If not for their terrifying cultivation methods, one might even think it was a reclusive, pure cultivation sect. Heaven knows, Rong Huan and the system were both more fastidious than the other, obsessive clean freaks to the point of rage. After taking over the sect, the first thing they did was collect a huge sum of top-grade spirit stones and recruit many geomancy masters. specifically training these yin-yang and 8 trigrams masters into leading experts in fields such as drainage engineering, sewage treatment, atmospheric pollution control, solid waste disposal, and comprehensive environmental pollution management. For a sect to develop long-term, it must grasp both science and metaphysics. On this point, Rong Huan and the system rarely reached a consensus. Ni Jij, a clear and melodious voice like an oriole emerging from a valley, attracted Zhang Ni's attention, who was following the disciple. Susu finally waited for you. The other party was practically overjoyed to the point of tears. One person and one system, secretly lurking in the shadows, high-fived. Not bad, this is exactly the kind of juicy escape plot. Next, the female protagonist should be very angrily denouncing the great demon for her cruelty, for imprisoning a blooming young girl in a sunless dungeon and doing unspeakable things. Then the male protagonist, very angrily and sorrowfully, with red eyes, would spit blood and say, "Oh, Susu, don't worry, your Ni Jij will definitely tear that demon into 8 pieces to avenge you." Tusk, what a perfect revenge script. One person and one system secretly gave a pre-victory high five. Susu? Zhang Ni didn't react, bewildered for a few seconds. Susu was the pet name of Ying Wudong, the saintess of Mount Tianshan, whose name meant elegant and delicate like a person. However, the woman running towards him was shaking with fat, like a super invincible cannonball, thumping and thumping as she slammed into him. "Zhang Ni? Who are you, big sister?" Just for that moment of daze, Zhang Ni couldn't dodge in time and was hit by the cannonball, seeing stars, foaming at the mouth and trembling in his limbs, almost on the verge of kicking the bucket. The male lead, with great effort, extended a hand, trembling violently. Save me, the system said profoundly. "Congratulations, you have successfully murdered the male lead." Rong Huan touched her nose. So, it was her fault that the prisoner was treated too well and got too fat. Zhang Nishui was helped up by his disciple, panting heavily, and with difficulty supported his waist, which was almost broken. "Susu, what's wrong with you?" Just like that, the male lead's expression was a bit indescribable. He remembered that the saintess in his impression was a beautiful woman with a graceful demeanor. Could it be that sect master Rong, he tentatively asked. Rong Huan immediately perked up. Come on, feel free to slander her." Ying Wudong shyly twisted her strong little body. "Sect master, he's a good person, he's so good to Susu. He gives me 5 chicken drumsticks every day. Sometimes there's also roasted spirit pig or roasted spirit antelope. The broth is super rich, the food is super good." Rong Huan, sorry, she was really wrong. Please spit her chicken drumsticks back, thank you. "Oh right, brother Nishui, please tell Aunt Susu for me not to worry. Susu eats well and dresses well here, and she also met a very good, delivery boy, so she doesn't want to go back for now." As she spoke, 2 plump red clouds floated onto Ying Wudong's face. "Oh dear, it's time to eat. Susu is going back first, otherwise the meat will get cold and one tea be edible." She waved her hand and continued to transform into a super invincible cannonball, thumping and thumping her way back. She didn't even give the male lead half a second to react. The male lead stood there dejectedly. Rong Huan thought to herself, "Serves you right, who told you not to come earlier? This girl ran away? The harem collapsed? Does it hurt? If it hurts, then come and kill me." Her thoughts spun 100 times, then she heard the other party sigh with great emotion. Zhang has judged a gentleman with a villain's heart. It turns out that sect master has already comprehended the true meaning of life, not only dispelling Susu's obsession, but also allowing her to experience the breath of human fireworks. This move is divine and unpredictable, nourishing things silently. Zhang admits his inferiority. Rong Huan, the disciple beside him, showed a look of shared glory, praising Rong Huan from head to toe without even taking a breath, not even letting go of a single strand of hair. Zhang Nishui listened with immense admiration, wishing he could sprout wings and fly into the main hall, calling that omnipotent venerable a master, and bowing to him. "Senior brother, please give me more guidance in the future." He excitedly grasped the other's hands. "Junior brother, you're too kind, too kind." The two quickly developed into close brothers. Zhang Nishui was introduced to Rong Huan and respectfully bowed to her, his eyes bright, much like a fluffy little animal, looking devout as if he had converted to Buddhism. The system expressed despair. The male lead has no desire for hatred. Are they still considered proper villains? They rate too much of a failure as demons. Rong Huan suddenly transmitted a message. System, don't panic, your master has a way. The system just snorted. It didn't believe a single punctuation mark of what the great Rong said. You wish to join this sect, Master S sect? She put on a dignified air. Zhang Nishui naturally agreed, saying that he hoped the sect master would grant his wish. Since that is the case, then show me your determination. Then the sect master took out 2 thin sticks and a ball of yarn from behind her back. The system blinked resentfully, and Zhang Nishui was like facing a formidable enemy. A few days ago, the heavenly finger shadowless palm had caused a great commotion, and he naturally knew about it. This thing was said to be able to contend with cultivators of the Mahayana level. Rong Huan smiled meaningfully. The male lead was a little nervous. Then, "Sect master, is it like this?" he humbly inquired. Rong Huan nodded with satisfaction. The male lead was indeed the male lead. How could such a small matter as knitting a scarf stump him? After the male lead learned a type of needlework, Rong Huan said, "This round is won by speed. If you can beat me, I will grant all your requests." Zhang Nishui was a little nervous, but still said, "Please, sect master, instruct me." Whoosh, 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 swish, 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 2 pairs of hands moved like lightning and thunder, and the air was filled with the scent of a great battle's gunpowder. Faster, even faster. Let speed and passion ignite. Zhang Nishui's eyes turned red. He was immersed in a very mysterious realm, without desires or demands, only the stitches in his hands. The needle was sharp, the thread was soft. These 2 strange attributes intertwined, actually allowing him to subtly comprehend a profound enlightenment. Zhang Nishui's admiration for Rong Huan deepened. What kind of grandeur, what kind of masterpiece was this? Without any threshold, she imparted a peerless divine skill to him. Only a man like sect master Rong with such a broad mind could be unconstrained by trifles, brave and magnanimous. The male lead quickly tied off the last thread, completing it first. He looked up and saw that the other party had not yet finished. He was stunned. "Sect master." Just as he was about to speak, he was unexpectedly sprayed with a face full of blood. Sect master, what's wrong with you?" The male lead was terrified and shocked. "You won." Rong Huan's mouth was stained with blood, her face pale, quickly entering the character of an old hen and trusting her orphans at her deathbed. "Young man, you have great potential. I truly did not misjudge you. My skill is inferior, I suffered chi deviation, and there is nothing to say about this outcome." Then she tilted her head and cheerfully received her bento box. The end, scatter flowers. Although Rong Huan had already kicked the bucket, her soul had not disappeared from the storyline. She became a transparent ghost. Why was that? There was a trick to it. Generally speaking, quick transmigration agents are soul transmigrators. After the mission ends, there are different departure methods to choose from. Just like humans going out have rockets, aircraft carriers, helicopters, subways, cars, buses, and other means of transportation, quick transmigration is also divided into direct, transit, instant, and delayed. Big Shot Rong owed a pile of small debts, so she could only increase income and reduce expenditure, reluctantly choosing the delayed transit donkey express service. According to her estimation, this return bento would take several months to deliver. Alas, she was poor, there was no other way. She wished she could break 1 point into 2 petals. So, while waiting for her little broken donkey, Rong Huan stroked her chin and assessed her death, and also delved into a deep discussion with the system about human body aesthetics and color coordination principles. "System, I feel like the clothes I wore today don't match very well. Look at that red, the blood spurted out black red. It didn't stain into a tragically beautiful, stunning blood flower." She seriously scrutinized. The system twitched its mouth. It was truly impressed. "System, don't be a silly bird this time. Hurry up and commit suicide for love." This woman said shamelessly. Let the male lead know how heinous his crime is. Because of a momentary impulse to take a master, the other party was shocked by his talent and went berserk, and a generation's grandmaster thus fell. When he walks out of this door, the disciples will discover that the sect master and her beloved bird are dead, and they will pile all the blame on the male lead. Then the male lead will be hunted down, counter-killed, hunted down, counter-killed, and finally become a god. What a beautiful ending! The plot developed exactly like this, and the fate of the world was strengthened in this way. No need to thank her, her scientific name was Lei Feng. Oh, and also, the male lead should remember well her sincere sacrifice as a villain. System, were you a devil in your previous life? It didn't see the male lead holding the person with a face full of blood, looking utterly regretful and despairing. If he were stimulated a bit more, what if the male lead's revolutionary feelings suddenly sublimated, and he became obsessed with wanting to hold hands with the sect master and wander the underworld together? Hurry up. Rong Huan poked the black bird's butt of the system with her transparent little foot. The system's feathers were akimbo, its butt sticking out, not wanting to bother with her. System, you've changed. You no longer love me. Rong Huan was shocked, speechless. It actually turned its butt towards her. Simply unbelievable, okay? One must know that this system of hers before her had also served quite a few young ladies, noble daughters, and imperial concubines. After transformation, its appearance was top-notch. Even if it became an ugly lizard, it would still insist on daily beauty treatments, insist on applying sunscreen, and wag its tail slowly and gracefully when walking, truly a graceful socialite from high society. Since when did a graceful socialite turn into a big man sticking out his butt? This shouldn't be her fault, right? She had always let her livestock roam freely, very free, very laissez-faire. Rong Huan was deep in thought when she suddenly heard the sound of the door opening. Her chief disciple, whom she had cultivated for many years, rushed in with a group of black-clad junior disciples, surrounding Zhang Nishi in 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, trapping him completely. Vin Hone immediately abandoned the profound topic of the system's perverted development capabilities, watching how the male protagonist was chased, counterkilled, chased, and counterkilled. Sect Master! The disciples cried out one after another, their faces showing genuine sorrow. The big shot was delighted. Thankfully, she hadn't raised this bunch of little doggies in vain. It was you. Who killed the sect master? The chief disciple gritted his teeth, his whole body radiating an uncontrollable killing intent, his demon blade clanging towards the male protagonist. Speak, how do you wish to die? Just as Vin Hone thought the male protagonist was about to burst a vein in his forehead and enter fighting mode, that fellow, with reddened eyes, said, "The sect master's kindness to me was as heavy as a mountain, and he even imparted divine techniques to me." Before his passing, his eyes were lonely, surely worried about this vast Usura sect. Ku Shiksheng, Nai Shui knows he is guilty and is willing to serve the sect master for life with a body-bearing sin, making the Usura sect the #1 holy land under heaven. By then, Nai Shui will be able to report his achievements to the sect master. Vin Hone, what the hell, serve for life? You're a good person, but I don't need it, thank you, just burn me some paper money. System, are we going down the old path again? No, male protagonist, wipe your eye boogers, the other party is a psychopath. You don't need to arbitrarily apply 100,000 times beauty filter to this guy. The system transformed into a black eagle, desperately winking at the male protagonist, but who knew the other party was immersed in sorrowful emotions and couldn't extricate himself, completely unable to receive its brainwaves. Zhang Nishui had come a long way, seen many blades and swords, much deceit and trickery. For a single heavenly treasure, even bosom friends could instantly turn hostile. How unlike sect Master Vin, who was magnanimous and wise as a valley, actually imparting divine techniques to him without any reservation, even when forced into chi deviation by him. Before his death, he was still calm and serene, without resentment, only a faint joy, as if happy with his growth potential, that his legacy had a successor, and that the cultivation world would henceforth have another future great leader. His magnanimity was immense, genuinely happy for the cultivation world to have such a talent. Such a decisive hero actually fell into the hands of an ignorant junior like him. Zhang Nishui felt extremely apologetic, especially since the other party was a powerful elder who had greatly guided him, giving rise to a strong sense of guilt for having harmed his benefactor. Zhang Nishui, oh Zhang Nishui, are you perhaps a lone star of calamity, specifically here to bring misfortune to your benefactors? He was so apologetic, so tormented. Suddenly, Zhang Nishui's mind became clear. All power and beauty seemed distant from him, only the smiling corner of sect Master Vin's mouth remained in his heart. His heart inexplicably trembled, and a burning, hard-to-suppress emotion surged within him. What sect Master Vin couldn't accomplish, let me do it, he said to the chief disciple, his face resolute, his aura like a rainbow. Vin Hone's leisurely expression instantly froze. Ferocious. Huh, Subsequently, Vin Hone fiercely kicked the chief disciple's butt. This foolish boy couldn't agree either. The male protagonist was a renowned righteous figure. If he were to switch to the villain's camp, the heavenly Tao would be weakened. Wouldn't her points then be thrown into the river? After all, her meaning as a villain was to make the male protagonist spread truth, goodness, and beauty, and propagate the core values of cultivation where evil cannot triumph over good. The sect master's eldest disciple felt a chill behind his butt, but he didn't pay attention. There were more important matters he needed to decide right now. Greetings to the new sect master. He led the way, kneeling down. Below, everyone was stunned, perhaps swayed by Zhang Nishui's speech, and surprisingly, there wasn't much conflict. A large group of people knelt down with a rustle. Ding. Congratulations on completing the ultimate cultivation villain mission. Deducting your donkey's return journey fee, you can obtain 10,000 points. Ding. Unfortunately, the main god space detected that the male lead's hatred value towards you has dropped to 0. The villain's halo has weakened, 50 of points are reclaimed. Currently, you can obtain 5,000 points. Ding. Unfortunately, the main god space detected that the male lead has turned to the dark faction. His evil value has risen to 150 of points are reclaimed. Currently, you can obtain 2,500 points. Ding. Unfortunately, Rong Huan directly blocked the notification sound. She let out a sinister laugh. The system trembled 3 times. Afterward, the system felt its body was out of control. Rong Huan's soul squeezed in, suppressing it with absolute advantage. Then, the system could only watch helplessly as this psychopath used its beautiful wings, which it had painstakingly smoothed all day, to poke the male lead's body. Its claws hooked the skin of the male lead's arm, bringing out strings of blood beads. The disciples were very afraid that Zhang Nishui might accidentally swat the Usura sect's mascot to death, and they all spoke up. Lord Awu has followed the sect master for many years, accompanying him day and night, sharing the same bed and pillow. Even if there's no merit, there's hard work. This time, please be merciful for his lapse. System. Bah, this great bird doesn't share a bed and pillow with this woman day and night. It sounded like it was a useless freeloader. It turned out to be Rong Huan Sr.'s beloved bird, sharing the same bed and pillow, accompanying him day and night. Perhaps it was imbued with the senior's body temperature and scent, and as it flapped, it emitted an unusually captivating aura, as if the senior was still alive by his side. Zhang Nishui's emotions surged. The bloodstains on his arm felt as if hot sparks had been poured on them, burning him until he was numb and tingling, trembling. Don't worry, I will treat him well. He stroked the black eagle's chest without any qualms. The system met the male lead's eyes, deep and fiery. Its entire bird body felt unwell. Damn it, why did that bastard host's dirty work have to fall on it? Bastard, don't touch my chest. I'm a male, I'm really a male. 100% a male, ah. The troublesome old Rong had long since fled the moment the male lead lifted his hand. The weather today isn't bad. Rong Huan automatically blocked out the system's incessant babbling, calmly admiring the scenery outside the window, as if nothing had happened. The system, on one hand, cursed the despicable, shameless female beast, and on the other, couldn't escape. Subsequently, the system was meticulously nurtured by the male lead. Every day, this person would look at it with an exceptionally infatuated yet exceptionally regretful gaze, looking until its guts wanted to burst and its soul shattered. My eggs. The system was terrified. The male lead wasn't going to develop his 3,000 concubines. Could it be that he wanted to cultivate a shocking human-beast love with a handsome bird? No, it refused. Zhang Nianshui truly loved everything connected to his beloved, transferring his hard-to-vent emotions onto a bird. Due to his monstrous talent, he quickly became the #1 devil after Rong Huan, acting even more absurd and unrestrained. One day, Zhang Nianshui created a female corpse that bore some resemblance to Rong Huan. He gently cupped the system in his palm, his crimson lips curving into a gentle smile. Don't be afraid, it'll only be for a moment. Your soul will be reborn in a new body. By then, you'll be my favorite girl. I'll give you a name, let's call you Rong Huan, and after you awaken, you'll become my Tao companion, all right? This surprise was out of the ordinary. The system was so shocked it couldn't breathe. Then it decisively chose to self-destruct, dying a tragic death, covered in blood, with no intact spot visible. Zhang Nianshui was so enraged that he vomited blood continuously. The system expressed great satisfaction, caw, serves you right for coveting this great bird. Ding, what a pity, the main god space detected that the male lead's blackening value has risen to 100, deducting 50 of points. A mechanical voice steadily fluctuated with the soul waves of one person and one bird. The system was just congratulating itself on escaping the devil's clutches when a pair of devilish eyes drifted over profoundly. System, you have self-awareness, right? Our points are almost completely deducted. You understand what kind of braised pork trotters and clear soup you'll be eating tonight, don't you? System, eating it raw, truly a great beast. Fortunately, the little donkey saved it from the depths of despair. Thump, 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 a vortex appeared in the void, and a snow-white little donkey trotted its tiny hooves towards Rong Huen. Rong Huen immediately burst into tears. My Maomao, you've gotten thin. She lovingly stroked the little donkey's fur. Rong Huen and this little donkey shared a profound revolutionary bond. Basically, every time she completed a mission, it would carry her back. Maomao was very lonely. It was one of many little mischievous donkeys and usually wasn't even summoned. After all, mission takers with points preferred to choose the faster and more luxurious Pegasus package. Maomao was almost bored to death at the transfer station. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Maomao cried out loudly, its bright eyes misty. Seeing that this person and beast were about to stage an annual tragic drama, the system flapped its wings, impatiently patting Rong Dallow's shoulder. Let's go, time to go back. Rong Huen cheerfully led the little donkey. The little donkey had a special magnetic field on its body, equivalent to a guide, leading the mission taker away from the plot world. As soon as Maomao left, the surrounding scenery instantly flowed rapidly. With ancient times, with modern times, this was them traversing parallel timelines. AI, wait, there's a part-time mission here. Vin Hoen's sharp eyes spotted a red flag. Mission announcements, besides fixed locations, would occasionally appear directly in local spacetime, using a red flag to be discovered by passing mission takers. The points were more abundant than usual, equivalent to picking up a bargain. This situation usually occurred in storylines with insufficient manpower. The system glanced, instantly giving up. Go, they're looking for a beautiful, sweet, and understanding female lead. What are you, a murderous female demon, doing watching the fun? Vin Hoen retorted indignantly, that's life's compulsion. System, believe your master, I can also be beautiful, sweet, and understanding. Maomao, isn't that right? Maomao, from the same faction, nodded vigorously. Although with its limited brain capacity it couldn't quite grasp what beautiful, sweet, and understanding was, could it be eaten? The system was finally very reluctantly grabbed by Vin Hoen, its wings held behind its back, and dragged to the interview site. The chief examiner was startled and hurriedly said, I don't eat chicken, thank you. He saw the posture and thought Vin Hoen was about to roll up her sleeves on the spot, set up a large pot, stew the system into soup, and then bribe the chief examiner. Could a chief examiner as dashing and handsome as him allow such a human tragedy to occur? Of course, he could. However, he had just eaten his fill and was more suited to putting on a dignified facade. The system spoke resentfully. Anyone who isn't blind should be able to tell I'm a dashing and handsome bird, thank you. The chief examiner's turtle eyes and the system's bean eyes stared at each other for a moment. Vin Hoen didn't rush this moment of interspecies profound gaze, slowly stroking the little donkey's fur. The chief examiner coughed. This world is a relatively non-dangerous campus romance novel. Because the opening time was quite rushed, we're recruiting on the spot. If you want to be the female lead, first you have to pass 3 rounds. The first is appearance, well, I think you're very qualified. The second round is answering questions, and the third round is scene imitation. As long as there aren't too many problems, this female lead role and 100,000 points are yours. Before he finished speaking, the chief examiner was stared at by 2 pairs of devilish eyes. Is that true? Of course, it's true. The chief examiner wiped his sweat. Is it that serious? It's only 100,000 points, considered quite low. Vin Hoen immediately expressed her desire to pass the second round. The chief examiner said, all right then, no time to waste, let's do 10 oral questions. 4 choices, if you answer 6 correctly, you pass. 1 person, 1 system, and 1 donkey nodded in unison, making the chief examiner stare in astonishment. This level of understanding, are they a family of 3? Vin Hoen thought to herself, isn't it just an ABCD multiple choice question? Her calculation ability was still very good. Random guessing has a 25 accuracy rate. She didn't believe that with her bald-from-intelligence brain, she couldn't guess 6 correctly. What a joke. The system evidently thought the same, proudly puffing out its chest. The chief examiner rubbed his forehead. First question, if your boyfriend of 1 year and your cat of 10 years both fall into a lake, which one would you save? A. Save the boyfriend. B. Save the cat. C. Call someone else to save them. D. Poke both the boyfriend and the cat to death with a bamboo pole and inherit its assets. Itching to choose the last one, what to do? No, she can't be lazy. She wants to stabilize her beautiful, sweet, kind, and benevolent female protagonist persona. So Big Boss Wrong honestly shook her head. People don't raise small animals. Because her hands were clumsy, she could easily send fragile small lives to the west, so it was better to avoid creating karma. The system leaned against the wall, retching. Big Boss, where's your integrity? You actually spoke in a cutesy, whiny voice, calling yourself people. Do you have no shame? No, this is a hypothetical scenario. The examiner's mouth twitched. Then how about this if the cat is replaced by the system? Big Boss Wrong glanced at the system and burst out laughing. The system was mortified and enraged. What's wrong? Does this old man's dog-like appearance offend your eyes? Have you ever seen a swimming chicken? Do you know how much effort this old man put in to get to your side? When entering a world for deployment, the host and the system would be randomly teleported. The host's situation was a bit better. At least their character identity was fixed, a human with a nose and eyes. Unlike the miserable, screwed-up system, which could turn into anything. Last time it wasn't a cool black eagle, but a newborn little yellow chick, and it almost drowned on its watery path to find its host. No, system, you swam wonderfully. Then why are you laughing, you ass? It's not funny, baby, system. It would kill this brat sooner or later, examiner. Back to the main topic. Second question, if your boyfriend gets angry, what do you do? A. Coax him. B. Kiss him. C. Drink more warm water. D. Slap him onto the wall so hard you can't even scrape him off. Wrong Huan slapped her thigh, very certain. D. It must be D. Anyway, if someone dared to get angry at her, beating them up first was definitely not wrong. Only then could they calm down and be willing to talk nicely with her. This trick had always worked for Wrong Huan in the villain worlds. It was just that she ended up turning the male lead into a stalker, which made her and the system extremely desperate. No matter what, she believed that love and this method should have the same wonderful effect. Wrong Huan sincerely suggested to the examiner, actually, 1 slap isn't enough force. You need to slap them unconscious, at least 7 or 8 slaps. That way, their mind will clear up faster. I guarantee, after you're done slapping, let alone being angry, he won't even dare to fart. Not bad. She really had the potential to be a romance novel protagonist. Wrong Huan never expected that the chief examiner couldn't see her abundant inner beauty, to the extent that she failed to compete for the newly available position of a romance novel female lead. She whined and bit her little handkerchief with the system, feigning pitifulness, attempting to make the chief examiner retract the order already issued. What she even more unexpectedly found was that the chief examiner's dog eyes were directly blind, and he issued Wrong Huan a good person card. What did that mean? He said that this little world, the aloof school hunk loves me, was still missing a few reformed good people who would bravely hoist the banner of socialist truth, goodness, and beauty, spreading positive energy that was both red and expert. Although the points weren't as many as the female leads, 30,000 was still quite substantial. Wrong Huan shamelessly accepted it. Turning around, the system had a human in its left eye and a scum in its right eye. Was its family's boss perhaps a bit forgetful, forgetting that she was once a lawless female demon who stirred up a bloody storm? Let's go. System, let's be good people. Wrong Huan was excited. She had a clear plan for her future. If she couldn't be the female lead of a romance novel, being the female lead's good best friend wasn't bad either. This was called infiltrating the enemy step by step. Once she became good friends with the romance novel female lead, she could naturally and humbly learn the true scriptures of love from the female lead. After mastering the 18 forms of man-catching divine skills, she felt that she could definitely ascend to the throne of the best romance novel female lead, sitting on billions of points, and then she could wake up laughing even in her dreams. The boss snapped her fingers. System, when we earn points, I'll buy you premium bird food with lobster flavor. The system's gaze reproached her. Couldn't she have a higher level of pursuit? Then what do you want? Rong Hyun was very understanding. The system coughed. No need for lobster flavor, I want matcha flavor. Okay? And so, one person and one system happily transmigrated. Then the two of them happily got lost again. Rong Hyun opened her eyes in a car, wearing a very, very ugly domestic school uniform. The plot took place in a public experimental high school. Although she hadn't yet reunited with the system, Rong Hyun was already thinking about what the system would transform into this time. Little chicks or little birds were too common, completely lacking any novelty. How about something like a mutated beast? She was so engrossed in her thoughts that she almost forgot her current mission. Oh, right, she needed to reform and be a good person. So, ripples shimmered in her mind, activating the mission procedure system. The mission procedure system was different from the main system. The procedure system only served a single world. Ding! Mission participant number 888, hello. Welcome to the no sweetness, no charge world of the aloof school hunk loves me. I am the high sweet little program that everyone loves, flowers bloom for, and even bicycles will get flat tires for little sweetie. Do you want intimate contact with the male god? Do you want hugs, kisses, and piggybacks? Only 998, bring the sexy male god home. 998, you can't be fooled, you can't lose out. Rong Hyun? Brother, you seem to have switched channels. The other end was silently timely for a few seconds. Ahahaha, sorry, well, life's pressures. Cough, let's try again. Mission participant number 888, hello. Welcome to the world of the aloof school hunk loves me. I am your mission assistant for this time, the handsome, dashing, and debonair, little school bro. Righteous and passionate, known in the Jianghu as little school bro, you can also call me little Zuxu. I am dedicated to the comprehensive development of moral, intellectual, and physical well-being for primary and secondary school students. Currently, I am a doctoral student in the education system, and my research direction is how to gently yet ruthlessly nip puppy love in the bud. By the time it finished its spittle-flying speech, Rong Hyun's body tilted, and she slept like a dead pig. Little school bro, could its voice be so captivating that it could hypnotize people? Miss, we've arrived at school. The bodyguard nudged her. Rong Hyun woke up, her first action being to touch the corner of her mouth. Good, she hadn't disgraced herself. She ruffled her hair and got out of the car with renewed vigor. Outside, another bodyguard was already waiting. As soon as his young miss stepped out of the car, whoosh, the black umbrella opened, everything like a slow-motion movie. Rong Hyun had seen this kind of display many times. Her missions included playing a triad boss, so she was exceptionally skilled at adjusting her collar. She nodded towards the umbrella-holding bodyguard, reserved yet elegant, walking on an ordinary cement road with the aura of an international red carpet. The bodyguard was deeply moved. Miss is exceptionally different today, truly possessing the old master's demeanor from back then. Indeed, people of the same family enter the same door. Halfway there, Rong Hyun realized something was off. The surrounding students were about 3 meters away from her, each running faster than a rabbit, not even daring to look up at her, avoiding her as if she were a plague. So she touched her face and asked the bodyguard, "Do I look that scary?" She hadn't looked in a mirror yet, but based on her touch and her tall, slender figure, how could she be too ugly? Miss is a beauty that makes fish sink and geese fall, a face that shames flowers and eclipses the moon, a peerless beauty that can topple nations. The bodyguard spoke without a single breath, clearly having undergone special training. Rong Hyun glanced at him, signaling him to shut up. Was she really such a shallow woman who liked flattery? All right, she was. Tonight she'd add a chicken drumstick for the bodyguard. Escorted by the bodyguard, Rong Hyun reviewed the plot with divided attention. The main storyline of this world was clear. It told the sweet and doting story of an aloof male academic genius and a lovesick female academic slacker. As long as you rank in the top 10 of your grade, I'll secretly be with you all the way to university. It was a very standard romance novel world, so bland that it had not a single ripple. However, what was very unscientific was that the owner of this body, named Jianghu, was a super triad young miss. Instead of attending the private school established by her family's organization, she insisted on traveling far to attend this public experimental high school. Rong Hyun flipped through the memories of the triad young miss. Oh, it wasn't the original owner's fault. She was forced to come here. The Jiang family made their fortune by speculating in firearms and ammunition. The old master was a ruthless man, with a green dragon on his left and a white tiger on his right, wielding a watermelon knife in each hand. He carved out a large territory, then became a local king, recruiting many small-time followers. The old master also had a good habit. He especially liked to poach his opponent's excellent talents. The master would dig a bit of earth, the Western family would loosen some mud, and he truly managed to poach those talents to the Jiang family. Turning towards the righteous old master, the group of sycophants very consciously offered advice and schemes to the old master, and the Jiang family gradually moved towards becoming a dominant, unrivaled power. The men of the Jiang family were all of the philandering type, marrying many concubines, which led to an exceptionally large number of children born in the household. They spent their days scheming against each other for family property, and Jiang Huan was caught in the crossfire. Her mother was a young lady from a respectable family who was forcibly taken by the eldest son, Jiangfu, on the street to be his wife. With the rice already cooked, there was nothing she could do but marry him. What was truly unscientific was that she also had 4 stepmothers and 9 older brothers above her. Jiang Huan ranked 10th, yet she was the only legitimate daughter born of the main wife, naturally becoming a thorn in the side of her brothers. Currently, among the 9 brothers, the earliest 4 had graduated from university and smoothly ascended to the position of crown princes in their family's subsidiary companies. The remaining 5, whose ages were similar to hers, were also studying, and each attended a private school. Of course, these were all organized by the Jiang family. This group of little wolf cubs made an incredibly Chunibyo-esque bet. Whoever could dominate a university in the fastest time would be qualified to compete for the final Black Society Crown Prince laurel wreath. As for Jiang Huan, what was a mere little girl? Her brothers completely disregarded her, yet they were wary of her status as the legitimate daughter. Therefore, with 1 thorn from each of them, plus 4 streams of pillow talk, Jiang Huan was sent to a key high school famous for its high university admission rate, a place teeming with monstrous geniuses. Oh, and a hefty sponsorship fee was paid too. Rong Huan's expression was one of intense pain. Zio Zuxu, I feel like my heart has some problems. Zio Zuj immediately became nervous. Could it be that this body has a congenital heart condition? That shouldn't be. You're just a mere passerby. A, B, C. How could you have such a high-minded, tragic character setting like a Korean drama female lead? Rong Huan. No, I just can't breathe when I think about the sponsorship fee, and not being able to breathe makes my heart ache. You tell me, how many bags of spicy fish jerky and dried green beans could that buy? It's such a waste of money. This was a big shot whose wealth was secondary, yet who had an abnormal obsession with money and delicious food. Zio Zuj? Isn't this a lunatic who's arrived? Boss, come, that Jiang fellow, he's here. The younger brother who had been scouting outside ran back excitedly to report, his whole body's cells boiling, as if he'd been injected with chicken blood. After half a year, for the sake of territory disputes, their boss was finally going to personally take action again, using his strong and mighty body, his fierce and devilish eyes, his bloody yet elegant posture, to present the most perfect death gift to his opponent. Who a puff of smoke billowed from the tall, strong teenager's mouth, making his face indistinct. Several female students walked past, holding textbooks, shy and bashful. The younger brother's eyes were filled with admiration, truly worthy of being their boss. Even smoking a cigarette could charm the hearts of countless young ladies. Quickly take notes. After all, this was an important lesson related to future life's major events. That stinky girl is here. The boss's voice was low. Ah, truly, there's a path to heaven she doesn't take, but she insists on blindly barging into hell where there's no gate. All the younger brothers eagerly echoed, shouting, exactly. Who doesn't know that this #1 high school is under our Zio Yi's protection? Even the 6th master of the Jiang family doesn't dare to provoke the boss. How dare a little woman like her defy heaven? Boss, I think she definitely doesn't take you seriously. On the first day, she dares to come to school so arrogantly, with bodyguards and luxury cars. Does she really think #1 high school is her backyard? Backyard. Zio Yi dangerously narrowed his eyes, spat out the cigarette from his mouth, and ground it repeatedly with his heel. Today, I'll make this place her burial ground. Rong Hyun was completely unaware that she had already been targeted by the biggest troublemaker in number 1 high school. Right now, she was still heartbroken over that large sum of sponsorship money, so heartbroken that her stomach felt a bit disobedient. So, her venerable self naturally ordered her strong bodyguard to go to the convenience store ahead to buy 5 skewers of grilled sausages, specifically reminding him to remember to get change, as money was the most easily spent thing. 100 yuan could disappear in the blink of an eye. Good children should be thrifty. Ding. Number 888, your mission has been downloaded. Do you wish to accept it now? Xiao Zuji suddenly popped out. Rong Hyun, who was happily eating, almost choked. When the hot dog in her throat was finally swallowed with difficulty, Rong Hyun, with tears of fright in her eyes, confirmed. Main mission activated. Study hard, make progress every day. We are the most excellent successors of socialism. Please be a student of excellent character and academics, enthusiastic in helping others, and united and friendly during the mission, becoming the pride of number 1 high school's teachers and students. Brother, this building is a bit too high for me. Can you let me down first? This wasn't like the red scarf good person spirit she imagined, like helping an old lady cross the road or something. Xiao Zuji gloated. No, the goods have been shipped, no returns or exchanges. All right, no returns then. One must face difficulties head-on, right? Then she would consider how to be a good student. Big shot wrong started her brain. Since it was a good person character, the good and evil value must lean towards the former. In the mission participant system, the so-called good and evil value refers to the public assessment of whether the character played by the mission participant is positive or negative, thereby determining the opposing factions. The original owner's identity as the young miss of a gang was too conspicuous. Her good and evil values were defined as negative by the public from the start. If she wanted to whitewash herself, it wouldn't be easy. First, she had to maintain some distance from the Jiang family. At least, ostentatious displays like today's could no longer be used. Then, in her daily life, she should listen attentively in class, respect her teachers, and unite with her classmates. Add a few more hangings, referring to studying hard, get her grades looking good, and it should be fine. She truly was a genius. In short, one sentence, she must be a docile little white rabbit, the kind that is harmless and innocent. Lower others' guard, then seize the opportunity. Rong Dala was deeply engrossed in thought. Xiao Zuji tried its best to brainwash her. Number 888, actually your current state isn't too bad, you know. Think about it, you've already been alienated from the black-hearted young master's inheritance circle. In the future, things like seizing territory, recruiting subordinates, smuggling guns and ammunition, those bad things definitely won't involve you. As long as you work hard, an upright and kind good student is very easy to gain recognition from others. Go for it, charge ahead, Xiao Zuji believes in you. Rong Hyun's thoughts were the same as Xiao Zuji's. Hearing this, she showed a look of agreement. To know oneself and one's enemy is to win 100 battles. She even specifically asked if this experimental high school had any difficult characters. To avoid trouble, she would steer clear beforehand. Xiao Zuji gave her a thumbs up for her foresight. She really was a super worry-free task-taker. Unlike its host, originally, as a learning system, it wanted its host to become a super academic genius who was well-rounded in virtue, intelligence, physique, aesthetics, and labor. But that person was not only a pretty face, but also a lovesick fool, only thinking about dating boys all day. Even asking for help with homework could end up in bed, causing missions to fail repeatedly. Helplessly, it had to take on multiple roles at a young age to support its spendthrift host. Just talking about it brought a flood of bitter tears. Xiao Zuji now only hoped that this task-taker 888 could be more capable, work hard on the mission, and let it earn some commission. It didn't hold back, generously telling Rong Hyun, "Don't think that number 1 high school is a key high school. Actually, it's also a gathering place for ruffians. After all, this is a famous genius training camp." Those ruffians whose families have money would try their best to squeeze them in, because they know their own limits and don't expect them to study well, just hoping for a good atmosphere to reform. But you don't need to be particularly worried. This number 1 high school was unified by a ruffian named Xiao Yiji 2 years ago. His background is similar to your corresponding Jiang family. He's also a well-known black-hearted crown prince, and he's an only child. Now, he's in the third year of high school, and you're in the first year. The teaching buildings are as far apart as a galaxy. As long as you don't provoke him, you'll definitely be safe and sound. Rong Hyun immediately raised her little hand to promise, "Don't worry, I won't idly wander around the third-year building." She bit off the last piece of grilled sausage, glanced at the distant trash can, and was too lazy to walk over. Without even looking facing the wind, she casually tossed it. Thwack, 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 right on target. Boss, what happened to you? Boss, be strong, wake up." Opposite, a burst of earth-shattering wailing and howling erupted. Rong Hyun rubbed her head in confusion. What was going on? She turned her head to look, and a group of brightly colored little brothers surrounded a tall, strong young man. They were crying, tears and snot flying, truly pitiful. She was deeply moved. Could it be that heaven had taken pity on her, and an opportunity had automatically presented itself, allowing her to smoothly take the first step towards becoming a good member of society? As the saying goes, opportunity knocks but once. It must be seized. Otherwise, she would be letting down heaven's great favor. Rong Hyun, with a righteous expression, pushed through the crowd with a sense of duty. Move aside. I think this classmate can still be saved. Everyone saw her and thought, wow, this aura, this expression, it's extraordinary. The large group, huddled together, automatically made way for her. Then Rong Hyun saw the old brother lying on the ground. Strange, his upper body didn't seem to have anything unusual. She muttered to herself, her gaze sweeping downwards. She saw 5 shiny long sticks moving in unison, targeting a crucial area. The positioning was so precise, so cunning, so perfect, not the slightest bit ambiguous. This sharp weapon seemed a bit familiar. Not just a bit, but extremely familiar. Where had she seen it before? Rong Hyun stroked her chin, incidentally savoring the taste of the grilled sausage in her mouth. The little brothers, influenced by Big Boss Rong's aura, instinctively took her as a confidant, wiping their tears pitifully. Sister, his root of descendants, can it be saved? The little learning program suddenly popped up a line. The little learning program sincerely serves you. You have currently triggered a branching question. Faced with a little brother who has suffered a blow, how should you comfort him? A. It can be saved. We must believe in the mysterious power of great science. B. No, this is not my fault, it's the timing, it's those 5 improper sticks. See, classmate, you must not give up. Life is still very beautiful. Look at the sky, look at the clouds. D. I don't know either. Why not try fighting fire with fire? Stimulate it again? Rong Hyun. It can be cured. We must believe in the mysterious power of great science. Rong Hyun, clutching her dwindling conscience, earnestly comforted the younger brothers. Sister. The younger brothers looked touched. What a good person. They were a bunch of ruffians, others would avoid them like the plague, but this female warrior extended a friendly helping hand. Wait, why did this person look so familiar? Just now, when they were carrying their boss to the trash can, it seemed like this person casually threw trash, and in the blink of an eye, their boss got hit. But now, she was so enthusiastically comforting them, it seemed like it wasn't her who threw it. Could she have a twin? The younger brothers fell into deep suspicion and confusion. And Rong Hyun, looking at the younger brother's bewildered, helpless, smoke-filled eyes, fiercely reprimanded Xiao Zuji, "We are supposed to be good people and learn from Lei Feng. How can we scare children?" Xiao Zuji coughed. Well, the scene was too tense, so I just livened up the atmosphere. Rong Hyun ignored Xiao Zuji's belated excuse, asked the bodyguard to ask for leave for her, and sent the person to the hospital. The younger brothers saw their boss injured, their confidant gone, and panicked. Seeing this, Rong Hyun used the brainwashing techniques she used when she was a sect leader to deceive her disciples, skillfully calming down a group of little radishes, telling them to stay by Xiao Yiji's side, while she took full responsibility for paying, arranging, communicating, and other tasks. Her focused and serious demeanor was so steady, reliable, handsome, and domineering. Don't worry, I caused it, I'm responsible. Money is not an issue, getting cured is the most important. You must be hungry waiting, come, eat something, there's meat in everything, enough to fill you up. One younger brother squatted in the corridor, eating, tears streaming down. His companion quickly asked what was wrong. The younger brother, who is always responsible for running errands in the group, sobbed, his nose red. I've never eaten a hot bento box bought by someone else before, and it's duck blood and bean sprouts, and there's fruit after eating. Jianghu is really good. Like them, these younger brothers, following their boss out into the world, used the pocket money their parents gave them to act cool and buy props, often going without 3 meals. The hot-blooded youths were too proud, enduring hunger purely out of a sense of brotherhood. Others saw them as rat-faced and fierce, but in reality, they were all just hungry. The brothers were tough guys, usually not caring about this, who would care if a bunch of ruffians like them ate enough or dressed warmly. His companion also fell silent upon hearing this. The younger brother wiped his tears, his expression suddenly firm. "Zhen, I'm not afraid of you saying Fei Mao is heartless. A female boss like Jianghu, you'd have to accumulate so much good fortune to be her younger brother. I've decided I want to follow her. Fei Mao, have you thought it through? The boss is not easy to mess with. My mind is made up, you don't need to persuade me anymore." Zhen took a deep breath. "Aren't you afraid I'll report you to the boss?" Fei Mao didn't say anything. Zhen suddenly smiled, punching his brother hard in the chest. "Don't worry. We grew up sharing the same pair of pants. How could I be so heartless? We said it, we don't ask to be born on the same day of the same year, but we ask to die on the same day of the same year. Since we're going to be lifelong friends, we also want to be the same boss's followers." Zhen, Mao Mao, the 2 ruffian teenagers embraced, moved. As soon as the female boss stepped out the door, she saw this harmonious situation, quietly not disturbing them, and went to communicate with the doctor. The old doctor was still immersed in the precise shooting method, unable to control himself, and excitedly shook Rong Huan. "This old man dares to bet? This is definitely a reclusive master. Look at this force, this angle, not taking a person's life, yet able to maximize the sensation of pain. It is simply devious to perfection." Rong Huan coughed. Doctor, when will he be all right?" The old doctor waved his hand. "It is nothing. That patient is clearly a martial artist, thick-skinned and tough-fleshed. Lying down for 10 or 8 years will guarantee he is lively and jumping around. He is not important. What is important is, look, this force, this angle, this master, clearly excels at shooting. Maybe he is an inheritor of the hidden weapons lineage. Do you think an old man like me, at this age, going to apprentice under a master, would he still accept me? The master skilled in shooting. Doctor, you've watched too many wuxia novels." By the time Rong Huan finished handling things on this side, it was almost dusk. She checked her watch, then looked at the group of little radishes lined up neatly behind her. The old sect master's worrying habit relapsed, so he pulled out some bodyguards from his wallet to buy grilled sausages and get change, distributing them one by one, instructing, "It is getting dark, don't wander around outside, all right? Here, hold it tight, take public transport back. If you're hungry, buy something else to eat." The little brothers clutched the hot 5 yuan bills. Tears streamed down their hearts. They had worked for so many years, and finally they legitimately received a huge sum of money. That is right, the one before them was definitely a shining golden thigh. Rong Huan was unaware of the psychological activities of this group of little brothers. She hummed a little tune, rode in a luxury car, and returned to her lair. The Jiang family's mansion could be described as luxurious. From the moment Rong Huan entered the main gate, she didn't know how many fountains and rockeries she saw, circling until she herself felt carsick. The vast family fortune could be said to be perfectly demonstrated. The Jiang family came with a built-in super-rich halo. No wonder those few brothers fought tooth and nail to become the heir to this underworld sect leader. When she returned, the 5 underworld brothers had arrived before her and were sitting in the living room, proudly comparing their today's spoils in front of the old master and father. "Haha, you guys, didn't he see that old bald monk's expression?" His face turned green. "Tusk, your kind of table rat trick is long outdated. It is all stuff I've played with and discarded. That kid with the perpetually sour face, I've long found him an eyesore. Today, I finally got to vent. 7th brother, besides backstabbing, do you have any other skills? Learn from 5th brother, directly break their arms." Rong Huan was led by a servant into a large mahogany door. "Old master, young masters, young miss has returned." The servant's sudden announcement instantly quieted the lively hall. A dozen pairs of eyes uniformly stared over. This entire family consisted of ruthless people who flaunted their ferocity and strength. If it were an ordinary person, they would have long since collapsed in fear. Rong Huan, the great boss, adapted well and didn't react much. She was even a little puzzled. "Why are you looking at me? Continue talking." She even happily poured herself a glass of warm water and prepared to be a self-aware spectator. Grandpa Jiang and Father Jiang didn't particularly like girls, feeling they were too delicate and useless. However, Father Jiang was naturally romantic and happened to be fond of Mother Jiang, who was a young lady from a respectable family, so he couldn't bear to abandon Jiang Huan. "Did you get bullied at school today?" Jiang Leyezi asked indifferently. Rong Huan thought for a moment. It seemed she was the one who bullied others. But such trivial matters didn't need to be reported to the central court. She shook her head, indicating no. Jiang Leyezi leaned on his dragon-head cane, closed his eyes, and asked no more. The other older brothers, however, weren't willing to stop. They asked with ill intentions, 10th younger sister, "Did you see Xiao Yiji?" "Yes, I did." "Then he didn't do anything." Rong Huan was a little uncertain. "He probably wanted to give me a friendly greeting." Unfortunately, he was accidentally injured by her before he could even make an appearance. Thinking about it, it was quite bitter. When Xiao Yiji was discharged from the hospital, she would definitely be nicer to him. The older brothers couldn't make heads or tails of it. Had that delinquent truly turned over a new leaf and resolved to mend his ways? "Oh, by the way, Grandpa, I want to take public transportation to school myself from now on. You don't need to make the bodyguard brothers work so hard following me." Rong Huan put forward her request, feeling a pang of pain in her heart. After all, the capitalist supercar lifestyle was very eroding her will. The old man opened his eyes wide, a sharp glint flashing. "Aren't you afraid of encountering danger?" The Jiang family had a large business and was involved in the underworld, with dirty hands, having provoked countless enemies. Jiang family members going out always needed numerous bodyguards to follow them. Take these grandchildren who went to school, for example. Even if they weren't bodyguards, there were several skilled individuals accompanying them. For the safety of their sons, the concubines were all willing to spend, and the money spent on bodyguards each year was an enormous expense. Jiang Lei, as he secretly pondered, could it be that his granddaughter had seen the light, decided to undergo a phoenix nirvana, cutting off all retreat to break through? Rong Huan didn't think twice. "Grandpa, don't worry, school is very safe." She was going to be a good student and a good child. She wasn't going to fight or brawl for territory. What danger could there be? Jiang Leyezi's pupils instantly constricted. Did his granddaughter's words mean that she no longer put opponents of Xiao Yiji's level and age in her eyes? Good, as expected of his old Jiang family's bloodline, not a single one was a weakling. Jiang Leyezi finally gave Rong Huan a satisfied look. Rong Huan received it and sincerely expressed, "Grandpa, don't worry. I will absolutely not waste that sponsorship fee and will bring you honor. To be a three-good citizen beneficial to society and the country." Jiang Lei, as he heard this, felt immensely pleased, his chrysanthemum wrinkles unfolded, revealing a rare smile. Good, so it was Grandpa who misjudged. The Jiang family actually has the demeanor of a female general. If you have this ambition, Grandpa will absolutely not stop you. How about this? If you can defeat Song Yi and subdue his group of brothers, Grandpa will cast my vote for you for the position of Jiang family young master. Jiang Fu also looked at her in surprise. Rong Huan. "No, Grandpa, it seems we weren't discussing the same thing." Without waiting for his little granddaughter to explain, Jiang Leyezi leaned on his dragon-head cane and returned to his room with a look of old-age contentment. Rong Huan instantly met the predatory white eyes of her 5 older brothers. Oh my, this was the rhythm of wanting to devour her. Rong Leaben, who was deeply in debt, swore to heaven. She only wanted to be a good girl who studied hard and made progress every day, a 3-good youth. Heaven and earth bore witness. She absolutely had no intention of snatching your rice bowls, big brothers. Boss Rong went to school with a deep sense of helplessness. This time, she was extremely ordinary, borrowing her family's cleaning auntie's pink lady's moped, obediently following traffic rules all the way, slowly riding to the school gate, without causing a single ripple. Very good, she had completed a normal attendance check-in, fitting the standard of a good student. Today would definitely go smoothly. Rong Huan silently gave herself a thumbs up for never having ridden a moped before. A great villain must be able to bend and stretch. "Boss, good morning." A stream of loud, booming voices startled the lollipop in Rong Huan's mouth, and it clattered to the ground. No sooner said than done, a crowd of people swarmed around. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple. Boss Rong was instantly enveloped in a colorful ocean, unable to breathe. the only friendly aspect of no. One high school towards delinquents was probably that, apart from the regular Monday morning inspections, they were extremely tolerant of delinquents' wild hair colors and bizarre outfits at other times. Rong Huen's eyes were stung for a long time before she finally managed to tear her gaze away from a large nose ring on a boy. Young people nowadays are too wild. "Students, have you perhaps mistaken me for someone else?" Boss Rong asked kindly. She considered herself to be a very law-abiding citizen today, whether it was her demeanor or her attire. How could she possibly be mistaken for a gang boss halfway through? Although this bunch of brats had thick panda makeup, their eyes shouldn't have any problems. "Boss, I didn't mistake you. You are my boss. From the moment you used your hidden weapons, whoosh whoosh whoosh, instantly killing Xiao Yiji invisibly, Fei Mao has deeply admired you. Please, you must accept me as your little brother." A green-haired teenager looked at her with sparkling eyes. "I said that was an accident." Rong Huen had no choice but to correct him again. "Boss, you don't need to be modest. We all know you acted to save us from dire straits. We've always been underfed and underclothed under Xiao Yiji's hand. You must have known and couldn't bear it." Beside him, Hong Mao Azhen had a pained yet moved expression, as if saying, I understand all your hardships." Rong Huen, "Based on my humble opinion, you're just over-imagining things." "Boss, just accept us." "Yeah, boss, I'm very good at cleaning things. I guarantee the place you sit will be spotless, not a speck of dust. Me, boss, and me, I can cook instant noodles to Michelin restaurant standards. Boss, my Tainu has great strength, I can carry your school bag. My legs are 2 meters 80 long, I run fast. I'm best at things like getting food from the cafeteria or buying things at the convenience store." Facing this group of clamoring little puppies, the old sect master Rong Huen couldn't help but feel a fondness for radishes. What a good bunch of respectful little radishes. Perhaps if she spent some time planting them, watering them, tilling the soil, and teaching them according to their aptitudes, they would become experts in various fields, free labor that shouldn't be wasted. Unfortunately, her assets were currently negative. Poverty made her look ferocious. She couldn't afford to raise this adorable bunch of little radishes. Boss Rong had to painstakingly avoid the pairs of eager big eyes. "I can't be your boss." "Why not?" The little brothers immediately looked wronged. She coughed, pointed at the unfortunate lollipop on the ground, and began her philosophical lecture. "Look, this is a lollipop that has suffered enough destruction. Because of you, it was wasted, and now it lies abandoned in the middle of the street, but none of you picked it up. I feel extremely disappointed. Without a heart that loves all things, you cannot comprehend the flaws and beauty of life's passing. How can you be a qualified street bully?" Rumble, rumble, rumble. Having successfully deceived them, Rong Huen picked up the lollipop, rode her pink lady's scooter, and with the demeanor of an otherworldly master, along with a cloud of exhaust from a car that had already spun into a celestial ascent, slowly disappeared from the sight of her little brothers. Lu Mao, one of the little brothers, scratched his head. "Azhen, what does the boss mean by this? It's all about all things and life, much harder than reading comprehension." He, a school slacker who died suddenly in the sea of books, was truly incapable of solving this problem. Azhen clenched his fist, then suddenly punched his palm, looking as if he had just realized something. "I understand. This is a test from the boss. This lollipop is actually a letter of submission." Maybe the boss feels that we are all just talking, not sincere enough. Azhen was eloquent, but deep down, he was a bit of a literary youth, greatly yearning for the realm of a scholar dies for his bosom friend. Fei Mao leaned closer to him. "Is that really how it is?" Azhen grinned. That's not simple. As little brothers, of course, we should worry before the boss worries and rejoice after the boss rejoices. See what the boss wants to do, and we'll do it beautifully for her one step ahead, with both attitude and speed. The boss will definitely be moved by us. A group of little brothers suddenly saw the light. They didn't go into houses to rob anymore, but instead, they spent their days quietly guarding the future big boss, conducting a biological observation log. As soon as Rong Huen stepped into the classroom, before she even had a chance to offer a friendly smile, the bustling scene instantly fell silent. Awe, curiosity, disgust, all were present. On her first day transferring to school, she arrived with a movie-level bodyguard entourage and even directly beat the third-year boss into the hospital, leaving him half-paralyzed. How brutal was that? They vaguely heard that this Jianghu status was not small, and his wealthy family background was not to be trifled with. The male classmates shivered down below, walking past Rong Hyun with an awkward, leg-clamped gait. Big Boss Rong was a little worried. As the only transfer student in the elite class, she wanted unity and friendship. This situation was not good. Rong Hyun decided to launch an attack from within the enemy first. Start with a point, then expand to a surface, and then conquer it all in one fell swoop. Hi, hello, she greeted her new deskmate. Today wasn't Monday, but the other person was still wearing the school's incredibly ugly short-sleeved uniform. Even so, her new deskmate's beauty was sky-high. Clean facial features, a tall and slender model-like frame, fulfilling all the fantasies of adolescent girls about their first love male god. But he was a bit cold. And didn't really like to respond to people, perfectly fitting the aura of the male lead in the aloof school hunk loves me. Rong Hyun stroked her chin. Zio Zuji, having learned from his host's past mistakes, was afraid that the mission taker would be captivated by male beauty, and immediately earnestly advised, number 888, "Let me tell you, little brother, although the male lead is tall, thin, handsome, and fair, he's poor, really dirt poor, and an orphan too. If you follow him, you'll only be able to eat steamed buns and pickled vegetables in the future. Isn't that miserable? It's just that I have money, ah. If he's with me, he can eat bird's nest and abalone every day." The big shot expressed that this premise was very strange and refuted it with great interest. Moreover, steamed buns and pickled vegetables are really delicious, nutritious, and appetizing. It's much better than the amputated limbs of the apocalypse, right? This was a brutal big shot who had gnawed on amputated limbs. Zio Zuji choked for a moment, not giving up, and continued his brainwashing scheme. Then the male lead, he gets the national first-class scholarship every year. His IQ is outstanding enough to reach the Milky Way. You and him have a huge chasm, it won't work. Rong Hyun slapped her thigh. Oh my, that's great. I know astronomy above and geography below, and I can even change light bulbs and fix toilets. Isn't that common ground right there? This was still an all-rounder big shot with maxed-out skills. Zio Zuji decided to unleash his trump card. The male lead is a man from the north. He only bathes once a month. Rong Hyun fell silent. You little demon, you win? The big shot, who bathed twice a day and almost scrubbed off a layer of skin, thought in great pain, I'm so sorry, little cutie. The north-south difference affects our romance. Seeing Rong Hyun fall into a dilemma, Zio Zuj struck while the iron was hot, brainwashing her even more enthusiastically. Think about it, if you find a northern man to be your boyfriend, what if when you two get intimate a ball of black mud rubs off? Can you even bring yourself to kiss him? These words made Rong Hyun, a cleanliness freak, very distressed. If a person couldn't be clean and fragrant, how uninteresting would life be? Rong Hyun looked at the male lead with sorrow. What a pity, young man, although you are very handsome, you will never enjoy the joy of bathing twice a day. Male lead Su Kinxi. What was this inexplicable feeling of being cherished? It was like a small animal being caught by a tiger and then licked in its mouth. Oh no, was he a pervert for even thinking of the word lick? Su Kinxi suddenly turned his head, not even greeting his new deskmate. Seeing this cold shoulder, Zio Zuj was so excited he almost cried. That's right, the male lead should be like this. He only has feelings for the female lead, everyone else is just an irrelevant background. Fortunately, it was smart and resourceful, timely brandishing its 2-meter-long great saber, diligently teaching like a bright lamp, making the lost little lamb find its way back. The day passed just like that, with everyone harboring their own ulterior motives. Ding! As soon as the dismissal bell rang, Rong Hyun packed her desk at lightning speed, politely saying goodbye to the male lead, her deskmate. Her heart was like a bird released from its cage, immediately flying boundless. Sitting upright with a straight back for 7 classes truly felt like it was taking her old life. Unexpectedly, the teacher on the podium was also in a state of exhaustion, looking half dead. She picked up her textbook and teaching materials and left even faster, her high heels clacking, stepping out with the joy of a narrow escape. This was absolutely the most tiring class she had ever taught, beyond compare. The school's overnight infamous bloody gangster was sitting right under her nose, her hands neatly placed on the desk, staring at people without blinking throughout the class, even smiling, a very friendly smile, especially unsettling, making the teacher reasonably suspect she was planning a shocking conspiracy. the kind that involved a threat to life. The students and the teacher had a telepathic understanding. They spent the entire day in class trembling with fear, but fortunately, it ended without incident. As soon as they thought of tomorrow, and the countless days and nights they would have to spend with this dangerous individual in the future, their scalps tingled, and they felt their future was boundless. Ah, this life-torturing fate. Rong Hyuen didn't know that she had been upgraded to an extremely perverted student in the eyes of the teachers and classmates. She carried her small backpack full of spicy sticks and rode her pink scooter back to her luxury villa, extremely happy. In the living room, a young man was sitting with his legs crossed, eating fruit. He was the sixth oldest. Hearing the commotion, he glanced over, saw it was a girl, and disdainfully turned his head back. Hear the sound of a packaging bag being torn open, and a strong, hot, meaty smell instantly spread. Rong Hyuen narrowed her eyes in satisfaction. Do you want a piece? One person's joy is not as good as everyone's joy. She generously offered a small spicy stick, priced at 5 mao a pack. The young man swallowed, but still put on a very disdainful look, righteously refusing such undignified street food. To think that he, the dignified future heir of the underworld, how could he lose to the naked, fiery allure of a small spicy stick? He is precisely the promising young master of the underworld. Vin Hone let out an "oh." Crunch, crunch, Lao Liu's eyes widened. He was extremely unwilling. How could it be like this? Shouldn't she continue to pester him relentlessly and invite him? How could she retreat in an orderly fashion halfway through? People without perseverance have no future. I've never eaten this kind of junk food. The promising young master of the underworld, waiting to be chosen, put on a reserved little act, adding, "Eat too much and you'll get diarrhea." Oh, Vin Hone nodded in understanding, casually wiping away tears with a tissue. Crunch, crunch, those malicious merchants add a lot of preservatives and colorants to it, which will lead to cancer. The promising young master of the underworld, waiting to be chosen, threatened her, still unwilling to give up. Oh. Vin Hone deftly tore open the packaging. The beef tendon was red and chewy, and she found it particularly satisfying to bite into. She looked up and met a pair of teary eyes. Oh my, what a pair of small eyes, filled with longing, hope, and even despair. Vin Dallo immediately felt an overwhelming surge of maternal affection. With a wave of her hand, whoosh, she pushed a pile of unopened spicy rice crackers, American soybeans, and many other snacks in front of him. Here, it's all for you, don't be shy. She looked at the little radish with great affection. Lao Liu? He was instantly moved to tears. She truly is a good sister of the century. He used to look down on this little girl so much. As an older brother, he was truly too ashamed. Don't worry, in the future, I'll cover you. Lao Liu, while furiously sucking on a spicy stick, also puffed out his chest and patted it, looking particularly heroic. Then beep beep beep. An ambulance arrived at the Jiang family's luxury villa, even startling the old master who was lying in his rocking chair, reminiscing about past sparks and flashes. My poor Lier, you're truly too young. How could you bear to leave your mother alone? Lao Liu's old mother waved a white handkerchief, crying to heaven and earth, with the momentum of Meng Jiangnu crying down the Great Wall. Oh heavens, how could you bear to let a white-haired person send off a black-haired one? Vin Hone, madam, your son merely fainted from overeating. The old master leaned on his dragon head cane and stomped it. The surroundings instantly became as quiet as a chicken. 10th, tell me, what happened? Vin Hone was surprised for a moment, then touched her nose. In the past, the old master would just call her you, never expecting she'd have a title now. Happy, it must be because the old master saw her diligently studying. Vin Hone recounted everything truthfully. Lao Liu's old mother glared at her tearfully, so agitated that her whole body trembled, her crimson fingernails almost poking Vin Hone's eyes. The old mother roared, "Nonsense! You're slandering me. My Lier is so well-behaved. He only drinks water flown in from Finland and only eats beef from the pampas grasslands of Argentina. How could Lier even glance at such dirty, unhygienic, 3-no junk food? Oh, I know, it must be you. You didn't like that my son drank your glass of Dutch milk last night, so you held a grudge, didn't you?" The old mother's lips trembled, then quivered again, as if she had uncovered a shocking secret. Ah, I know you want to be the young master, don't you? So you deliberately used this dirty trick to eliminate my son. Oh heavens, how can there be such a malicious person like you in this world? Rong Dallo's mouth twitched. No, I'm not, don't talk nonsense. Rong Hyuen originally thought that the pure would remain pure, and rumors would stop with the wise. She disdained explaining repeatedly. Later, she discovered that rumors don't necessarily stop with the wise. The old master cast a look of praise. As expected of my granddaughter, she has the ruthlessness of my old man back in the day, with a left azure dragon and a right white tiger. The romantic old father cast a look of longing. I'm counting on you, daughter, to inherit the triad early so your old man can become the Grand Emperor early and live a romantic, carefree life. The refined old mother cast a look of anxious worry. My daughter is too capable. What if I really become the triad boss's old mother? I'm so nervous, this old mother doesn't even know how to do multi-level marketing. As for the Jiang family's servants, they were all on the verge of collapse. They secretly thought, it's over, we stood on the wrong side, made the wrong bet, this is just great. Even the ancestral imperial underwear will be lost completely. Rong Huan's sorrow flowed like a river, but no one understood the inner suffering of this peerless villain, including the self-proclaimed educational psychology expert, Xiao Zuj, who constantly transmitted brainwaves to her like, "Boss, calm down. We are here to spread the teachings of Amitabha, not for you to smile evilly and go on a rampage." Was she the kind of great villain who couldn't stand provocation? All right, she was. Rong Huan missed even more the days when she colluded with her trashy little system to wreak havoc on the world. Then she thought again, her system had been with her for many years and hadn't even eaten high-grade bird food with a matcha flavor. She, as a litter scooper, was truly too negligent. No, she had to fight with renewed vigor, capture this bunch of little demons. Chinese, math, English, politics, history, geography, chemistry, physics, biology to earn some face for her system. Engjai zai zai bao bumusi, fei lai musi lai jai womu, song zai dai chi jai yu dun q, fei what was it? Oh fei wo luo chi? Wait, what's the next line? The unathletic, poor student was drowning in the ocean of classical Chinese questions. She was only interested in martial arts manuals. She truly had no comprehension for these long and difficult classical Chinese texts. Rong Huan banged the table loudly, her eyes welling up with physiological tears. She wanted to die. If possible, she also wanted to strangle that Meng. If it weren't for that ungrateful scoundrel's actions, how could she have fallen to such a pathetic state of being beaten by high school students? Azhen, we have a situation. Fei Mao, the little minion with a book on his forehead, enthusiastically called out to his companion. Received. Fei Mao, please speak. Azhen comrade signaled with his eyes. Two fluffy heads immediately huddled together, holding an under-the-table meeting. Azhen, our time to make a contribution has come. The green-haired little minion's face was full of major discovery. Look at boss, that reddish monkey-butt face, those eyes like she's dripping eye drops. Fei Mao racked his brains to describe the image of a young girl in love. But alas, his mind was empty, so he could only use his eyes to signal his companion. You and I have worn the same pants for so many years. You know what I mean, right? Azhen not only understood Fei Mao's meaning, but also quickly formulated a battle plan in his mind. Like this, like that, and so on, the two little minions whispered, finally revealing a confident, knowing smile. Their letter of allegiance was solid. Soon it was time for school to end. Rong Huan was immersed in the sorrow of I've been a powerful villain for many years, but it turns out I'm just a trashy student and couldn't extricate herself. She dragged her heavy steps out of school, the afterglow of the sunset stretching her shadow long. The little minions saw this scene and felt particularly heartbroken. They felt it was absolutely necessary for them to solve problems for their boss. There was a narrow, dark alley in No. 1 high school, which used to be an excellent feng shui spot for older students to extort money from younger ones. Since Xiao Yeka's sudden appearance, this alley had become the main base for a group of delinquent teenagers' meetings. They would only gather here when discussing major brawls. The rest of the time, it was occupied by a group of stray cats. Someone wanted to take a shortcut home, but was grabbed by the strap of their backpack by a companion, who whispered, "Hey, big guy, do you have a death wish? You still dare to go down this alley? Don't you see it's pitch black in there, full of human heads?" Damn it, when did so many people show up? The male student, belatedly realizing, almost cried out. "SHHH, I heard from inside that some bookworm provoked Song Yi and his brothers, and they're preparing to teach him a lesson. It's over, that guy is definitely going and standing up and coming out horizontally. Who says not, provoking this bunch of troublemakers? Let's go quickly, it won't be good if they target us." The two voices gradually faded into the distance. Bang, a faded canvas backpack, washed until it was yellow, was violently thrown against the wall. Fei Maoji, we caught this kid. HMPH, I didn't expect this kid to look so dumb, but he's not simple at all inside. The brothers almost got thrown off by him. A pink-haired minion said viciously, throwing the person in his hand in front of Fei Mao as if he were throwing a piece of broken cloth. Fei Mao's eyelids twitched violently. The tall, slender figure hit the wall with a thud, slowly sliding down. Fine black hair, damp with sweat, stuck to his forehead. Su Qingxi was breathing very lightly, a faint blush spreading across his face, clearly having undergone intense physical activity. He slightly lifted his eyelids, calmly assessing the group of delinquent teenagers around him, quickly calculating what defensive posture he should use later, or rather, how to minimize his injuries. He had extraordinary talent in academics, but his motor nerves were not well developed. Running a 100-meter dash could cost him half his life. Fighting one against many was out of the question. He didn't want to die young. Facing this sudden disaster, Su Qingxi was both angry and wronged. He usually tiptoed, carefully circling around this group of thugs, so how did he still get targeted? 8, 9, 10? A full 10 thugs. A strong sense of despair enveloped Su Qingxi's proudly high IQ brain, almost making him faint. These guys, one kick each, could cripple him. His heart turned to ashes as he closed his eyes. Bang! A loud noise startled a sleeping black cat, which flicked its tail and quickly ran away without a trace. The pink-haired minion was triumphantly claiming credit when he was suddenly kicked in the waist, falling head over heels into a nearby discarded old box, stunned. Look at what you've done. Fei Mao grabbed the minion's collar and roared wildly, "You bastard! Are your ears deaf? I told you to invite him to come along, invite him, not to hit our future sister-in-law. You don't have a brain, you're really pissing me off. Do you want our entire delinquent legion to become the directorate of ceremonial? Do you want me to make you a chief eunuch right now to show off your power? You turtle bastard." The minions would never forget the day Xiao Yiji made his glorious sacrifice. They silently clamped their legs together. The pink-haired minion was shocked. What? Future sister-in-law? Why didn't he know about this inside information? The pink-haired minion seemed to understand something, and his fierce gaze glared at the nose-ringed minion. It was indeed this little scoundrel, who, to curry favor with the new boss, deliberately concealed the future sister-in-law's identity, using this opportunity to step on him. Ah, damn it, he actually got on that little scoundrel's pirate ship. Now it's over, he gave sister-in-law a punch, ruining her beautiful little face. What if sister-in-law whispers something in the boss's ear? Will his little brother, who has been with him for many years, still be safe? The feather duster came from the middle, and he couldn't help but burst into tears. Su Qingxi's face was covered in wood, and he was respectfully helped up by a group of thugs, carried by 3 men and 4. Next, a younger brother vigorously dug into his pants pocket, joyfully pulling out a tissue to wipe the sweat and blood from his face. Another delinquent youth, unwilling to be outdone, somehow conjured a chicken feather duster, raised his orchid-like hand, and carefully used the duster to brush off the dust from the big sister-in-law's school uniform. The younger brother's eyes turned red with envy, regretting that they were a step too slow and had been beaten to it. Subsequently, a purple-haired younger brother ran over, panting, holding a newly bought canvas backpack in both hands, offering it devoutly and flatteringly. "Big sister-in-law, I'm really sorry just now. My hand slipped and your backpack slid out, accidentally getting a bit of moss on it. But it doesn't matter, out with the old, in with the new, right? Look, this is the new hot-selling backpack. It's selling like crazy, you can't even buy it if you queue up." The other younger brothers glared angrily. "You scoundrel, not only did you secretly keep your private stash without handing it over, but now you're openly bribing the big sister-in-law. Despicable, shameless, scum, degenerate." The purple-haired younger brother calmly accepted everyone's envious, jealous, and hateful gazes, scratching his head and said, "Hee, luckily I have an uncle who works part-time at that store. I already asked him to save a few for me. Look at this craftsmanship, look at this texture. It's most suitable for a sunny, relaxed, fresh, male god academic like you. It's just a small token of my regard, big sister-in-law. Please don't dislike it." Su Qingxi looked at the person with profound inscrutability. The younger brothers were uneasy. Was this satisfaction or dissatisfaction after all? At this moment, the male lead's inner monologue was probably damn. Being the man behind a gang boss is so FC-king awesome. A group of younger brothers surrounded their future sister-in-law, fawning over her wildly, almost completely forgetting their original battle plan. Fei Mao and A Zhen's eyes met in the air, and a spark of wisdom crackled. The two decided to take matters into their own hands. Cough, cough, A Zhen coughed, diverting everyone's attention. Sister-in-law, this time it was our mistake, causing you distress. We are truly sorry. Actually, the reason we asked you to come out was to be frank with you about something concerning the boss. The boss? What is your boss song you want with me? Su Qingxi stood calmly, his fingers pinching the strap of his school bag. Although he felt that being the man of a big boss was incredibly cool, Su Qingxi could confirm that he had no interest in men. No, not Song Yi. Fei Mao quickly waved his hand, blinking hard like a little girl, making a flirtatious gesture. It's Sister Jiang, have you forgot? Your desk mate. Su Qingxi's shoulders relaxed. Fortunately, it was a girl, so there was still a way back. What does your boss have to say that she can't say to my face and needs you to relay it? Having been beaten for no reason and startled, even the male lead with his good temper couldn't help but show a little sarcasm in his words. Su Qingxi secretly thought, to be the favored man of a gang boss, one naturally has to have a bit of personality. The group of younger brothers heard the sarcastic undertone, and each became as docile as quails, playing their roles as good backdrops. A Zhen read the room, pulled Fei Mao back, and carefully began, "This operation was done behind our boss's back. She had no idea. Sister-in-law, please don't misunderstand the boss, otherwise how sad would the boss be?" Su Qingxi frowned. "I only met her today, we're not that close." The implication was, her sadness was none of his business. Also, Su Qingxi thought this group of younger brothers might have found the wrong person. He had only met Jianghu today, and he hadn't even returned her greeting. Su Qingxi couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. It seemed he wouldn't be able to become the great man behind a big boss. Fei Mao blurted out, "So what if it's the first day you met? Can't our boss fall in love with you at first sight? You didn't see how the boss secretly looked at you in class and even cried quietly. You should know that our boss is a brutal woman. She can send Brother Zhao Yi to the hospital without batting an eye, yet she cried because of you. Isn't this true love, Su Qingxi? Wasn't that just physiological tears from yawning?" A Zhen immediately followed up. "That's right, sister-in-law, the boss has secretly liked you for a long time. Due to feminine shyness and bashfulness, she never had the chance to say it. As her younger brothers, we were anxious watching." Su Qingxi unconsciously repeated, "She likes me." As a child from a good family, Su Qingxi's intelligence had consistently crushed others from a young age, creating a nightmare-like shadow for countless boys, girls, old and young. He was like a peak that could never be climbed. Any romantic thoughts were exposed under his sharp eyes, to the extent that the tall and long-legged Su Qingxi had never even received a proper love letter until now. It was more than just tragic. Suddenly hearing that someone secretly liked him, a subtle joy quietly crept into the young man's heart. That's right, sister-in-law, boss really likes you." Fei Mao racked his brains trying to speak well of Rong Huan, because so far he hadn't discovered any advantages of the brutal boss having a girlfriend, so he could only save the country by a roundabout route, exercising his imagination making things up. Think about it, boss is a second-generation rich. With so many family businesses waiting to be inherited, she doesn't need to study at all. But she actually transferred to no. One middle school and even became your deskmate and even seriously memorized the painful coursework that gives us headaches. Where in the world are there so many coincidences? Fei Mao clenched his fist and hit his palm, making an excellent summary. Boss has completely changed for you, planning to be a good person. If it weren't for liking you, how could she have gone to this extent? A Zhen wiped away tears at the side. It's truly too touching. Boss is really too difficult. She was originally such a free and uninhibited person, a wild horse, yet she willingly put on shackles for love. Fei Mao's expression was a bit unnatural. "Hey, the onion is falling out." A Zhen, "Shut up, animal, I am trying to set the mood, you understand." Su Qingxi, "No need to set the mood, he didn't feel any pink atmosphere at all." Fei Mao on the left, A Zhen on the right, both extended a paw, holding the future sister-in-law's hand, and said in unison, "Please let boss be happy forever." The nose-ringed little brother gestured behind him. The little brothers understood, waved their hands and shouted, "Sister-in-law above, please accept your little brother's bow." Su Kingxi, where did this cult come from? The next day, Rong Huan yawned as she walked into the school gate, occasionally encountering a familiar little brother-s face, making a funny face at her. What was with these seeking prey's little eyes? She walked to her seat in confusion and pulled out her Chinese textbook. At this moment, little school senior was praising her in a graceful, chanting tone. "Oh, task taker 888, a scholar unseen for 3 days, no, a scholar unseen for 1 night, you truly make me look at you with new eyes. So many ancient poems and verses, you actually memorized them all overnight." Rong Huan was very proud. "Didn't I say so? I have the potential to be a top student. Difficulties are temporary. As long as you work hard, light is ahead." She said that last night, the big boss learned from her mistakes and resolutely decided to overcome difficulties and get rid of her identity as a poor student. So the old driver stepped on the accelerator, drove a night train, and actually unleashed the great potential of last-minute cramming from back in the day, flipping through countless small books, and in one go, memorized all the ancient poems required for the college entrance exam. Listening to little school senior's wave of flattery, Rong Huan was so puffed up that she couldn't help but want to put her hands on her hips and laugh wildly. Little school senior was really a good system, unlike her own trash system, which no matter what she did, was always noble and aloof, full of sarcastic remarks. Where was half of little school senior's thoughtfulness? Loki, you just need to know about this kind of thing." Rong Huan was very modest, smiling without showing her teeth. During morning reading, Big Boss Rong, in a natural and unforced manner, modestly handed the small book of ancient poems for the college entrance exam to her northern deskmate, who only bathed once a month. "Kingxi, today you can test me on my memorization. Make your tiger's body tremble and witness the power of a lazy student's magnificent turnaround." Su Kingxi's hands trembled. It was only the next day and she was already calling him Kingxi, and her tone was so intimate. Sure enough, she must have been secretly in love with him for a long time, couldn't wait even a moment. Desperately wanted to get close to him, right? His perfection truly leads people to commit crimes. Su Kingxi felt a little melancholic. Could it be that at such a young age, he was destined to become the great man of beauty and wisdom behind a gang boss? "Hello, classmate." Rong Huan raised her hand and waved it in front of the male lead. As a result, the other party didn't react at all, looking out the window with a face full of melancholy. The big shot Rong regretted it immensely. "It's over, Xiao Zuji." The male lead touched the Chinese textbook that still had my warmth. Was he perhaps scared silly by the overlord's aura I hid inside? How could he be so young and unable to withstand a blow? I haven't even astonished everyone yet. Winning so easily feels too unfulfilling. "Xiao Zuji, I think you, at a young age, resemble a scumbag." After a long while, Su Kingxi finally recovered. He looked melancholically at the future big shot beside him, then sighed melancholically. Rong Huan was puzzled. Su Kingxi decided to abandon his great lifelong dream of becoming a black society big shot. That's right, after a night of tossing and turning yesterday, the male lead finally made a choice. He wanted to reject the female big shot's proposal of love. This decision was extremely difficult for him. After all, the life of a big shot, a man full of temptation, had deeply eroded his firm will. But there was no other way. Su Kingxi was very clear about his shortcomings. The Jianghu family would not accept a penniless son-in-law. If he were to marry into the family without any family background, he would definitely be bullied to death. For the sake of his life, he still needed to stay far away from this black society young master. Su Kingxi stabilized his thoughts, casually opened a page, and said with a cold and distant demeanor, "All right, you recite." Rong Huan was stunned. Recite what?" Su Kingxi was utterly disheartened by giving up his great dream, so he had no mind to listen to what she was saying, and casually brushed her off. "Just recite whatever you want to recite." Rong Huan, following the principle of easy first, difficult later, unhesitatingly chose the easiest piece for her to recite. She swayed her head like an old scholar. The bright moon over the sea, pearls shed tears. The warm sun on the blue field, jade produces smoke. This feeling could become a memory to be cherished, but at that time, my heart was lost. Bang! A resounding slap on the table startled the entire class. Everyone turned to look, only to see their top student casually opening another page of the textbook and discreetly hiding his hand, which was red from slapping the table behind his back. What they didn't know was that the outwardly calm top student was a paper tiger. Internally, he was in a chaotic state, as if 1,000 grass-mud horses were galloping through. Damn, 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 I was flirted with until my legs went soft. He wholeheartedly wanted to reject her, but who knew she would take the opportunity of reciting to confess to him? Listen, the warm sun on the blue field, jade produces smoke. Listen, this feeling could become a memory to be cherished. She loved him so deeply, even if not reciprocated, she was willing to risk everything for a lifetime of devotion. He originally thought this was just a violent woman who only knew how to fight and kill, but it turns out she also has such a delicate and emotional side. Su Qingxi felt a wave of shame for judging a book by its cover. Hey, what are you doing? The big shot Rong was staring at the person like a tiger eyeing its prey. Regarding this sudden event, she thought the male lead might be jealous of her cheating, reciting too fluently, and deliberately slapped the table to disrupt her thoughts. Malicious, too malicious. One must know that reciting, like other things, also emphasizes strategy. The most important thing is to be invigorated and powerful like a tiger from the start. Once interrupted midway, one can no longer remember what comes next. Could it be that the male lead had already realized her restless intention to snatch away the top spot from years past and decided to give her a warning first? Rong Huen's heart tightened. Indeed, this cunning male lead, she couldn't underestimate him in the slightest. She couldn't forget his dangerous nature just because she had joined the good guys' camp. You're already very familiar with this one. Let's switch to another one. Su Qingxi tried hard to appear calm, hiding his muddled mind. Switch to another one? All right. Rong Huen narrowed her eyes. She would give him a difficult one. So she rhythmically recited, I love the lotus, which grows out of the mud yet remains unstained, bathed in clear ripples yet not seductive. Its stem is hollow inside and straight outside, without branches or tendrils. Its fragrance spreads far and becomes clearer, standing tall and pure. It can be admired from afar but not profaned. Su Qingxi's ears turned red. In her heart, was he really such a noble and ethereal little immortal man? Although he had always thought so himself, hearing someone else say it out loud still made him very shy. Su Qingxi thought of how he was about to reject this despondently infatuated deskmate of his, and couldn't help but softly advise, actually, if you look at lotuses for too long, they're just so-so. Other flowers are also quite good. There are plenty of fish in the sea, why cling to him so desperately? He was truly in a state of emotional turmoil now, unable to withstand any more agitation. Rong Huen had long been on guard against this move of his. Listen, the male lead's words, how sinister his intentions. The author wrote that essay to praise the noble character of the lotus. If he said that, wouldn't he be trying to mislead her into answering the main theme incorrectly during the exam, causing her to never catch up to his grades? As a smart villain, she resolutely refused to fall for it, and firmly declared, no, I only like white lotuses. At the same time, the big shot, in a fit of agitation, activated her taunt the enemy skill. The ancient said, even with 3,000 rivers, one only drinks a single scoop. People who are fickle will never amount to anything. She cast a sidelong glance at the male lead, her implication very strong. However, just as her sharp gaze swept over, Su Qingxi suddenly raised his Chinese textbook, covering more than half of his face, revealing only a handsome forehead. Keep reciting, he said in a muffled voice. Rong Huen was a bit annoyed. What was this, an evasion tactic? A man should fight her fair and square, not play petty tricks behind her back. The big shot was very angry, but she couldn't resort to violence, especially since little school senior kept telling her to calm down, saying maybe the male lead just said it casually. Bullshit, he did it on purpose. Rong Huen silently recited prosperous, democratic, civilized, harmonious, and finally suppressed that surge of evil fire. To little school senior's despair, the first class after morning reading was Chinese, directly triggering the dangerous plot of memorization. Today, let's check on your memorization, the Chinese teacher said with a smile. Below, a chorus of groans erupted. Little school senior was also groaning. It didn't really want to see the tragic plot of the big shot tearing the male lead apart. Old rules, we'll do a little train. Today is number 4, so we'll start from the 4th row, horizontally. Each person recites one passage, feel free to choose. With a clap from the Chinese teacher, a small student in the 4th row stood up nervously, softly reciting a pastoral poem. Vin Hone and the male lead were seated in the middle of the fourth row, and after the two of them, it would be the male lead's turn. Su Qingxi secretly glanced at her, finding her sitting upright, with not a trace of expression on her face. Could it be that she was angry because he hadn't responded when she mentioned 3,000 rivers just now? Su Qingxi couldn't help but regret his prolonged hesitation. He thought for a moment and made a slightly flattering move, leaning half his body towards her. Psychological studies have proven that people's bodies unconsciously tend to lean towards those they wish to be intimate with this way. She would surely notice that he also had a little bit of interest, right? The academic genius, well-versed in psychology, silently gave himself a thumbs up for his subtle expression. When the tall, slender boy stood up, the corner of his shoulder brushed against Vin Hone's nose, carrying a clean, cool scent of soapberry. However, the great boss Vin did not feel the refreshing crispness unique to a 16-year-old boy. She believed her authority had been severely provoked. She immediately tattled to Xiao Zuge, "Look, our seats are so wide, yet he just had to lean towards me and even brushed my nose with his clothes. That brat still claims it wasn't on purpose." The more she spoke, the angrier she became. "He's clearly declaring war on me. Don't you dare stop me. I've been a villain for so many years, I don't believe I can't deal with a little brat." Xiao Zuge dared not speak. A great boss in a berserk state was truly terrifying, exuding an aura of devouring people alive. It could only pray that the male lead would fend for himself. After Su Qingxi stood up, facing the eyes of the entire class, he felt nervous for the first time. His palms were sticky, like several pieces of rock candy had melted. He was flustered to the core. He didn't know why he was like this. Clearly, it was just a perfectly normal recitation, and based on his reading volume, reciting for 3 days and 2 nights would be no problem at all. But his legs still went soft. Su Qingxi always felt that the entire class already knew about the unspeakable affair between him and a future big shot. Just now, Rong Huan's recitation was so loud, anyone could hear it. The male lead, whose brain was burning at 40 degrees Celsius, blamed all mistakes on his admirer, who told her to confess her love in such a high-profile manner, wishing the whole world knew she was infatuated with him, crazy for him, and would even smash walls for him. The more Su Qingxi thought about it, the angrier he got. His little temper couldn't be suppressed, breaking his cold and aloof scholar persona. He glared fiercely at the culprit. Rong Huan seemed to have eyes on her forehead, suddenly looking up and smiling brightly at him. "Qingxi, come on, recite well." "It's okay if you can't recite it." The big shot thought darkly. Hee, it's best if he can't recite it. Can she recite it for him? That way, she can both strike a blow to the male lead's self-esteem and create a good image of a friendly classmate. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone, she was truly too smart. That's right, she usually didn't hold grudges. It was better to get revenge on the same day. Who knew that after she said this, the other party's expression changed drastically, and his lips even trembled a few times. Su Qingxi saw such a pair of clear, earnest eyes, and his heart was like instant noodles soaking in water. At first it was hard, but in no time, it softened into an unrecognizable mess. He had been so angry and taken it out on her, yet she wasn't angry at all, still looking like a little son. What a good girl. No, this smile of hers was fake. Su Qingxi became vigilant. Because he observed too carefully, he only then discovered that the corners of her mouth were pulled very loosely, carrying a hint of perfunctoriness. What was that little brother called? Oh, that one called Zhen Mao. He told him exactly that she was born with a silver spoon in her mouth, a young lady who got whatever she wanted since childhood. Had she ever been so wronged for someone that she had to hide her true nature? It must be because she loved him. The more he felt the preciousness of this heavy emotion, the more uneasy Su Qingxi became, despising his own cowardice. She had already walked 99 steps towards him, just waiting for him to take the last step and live a shameless, happy life. "Qingxi, can you not recite it?" Rong Huan showed a worried expression and whispered, "Do you want me to recite it for you? Come on, run confidently into this devil's embrace. Then tremble and despair in her shadow, ha ha ha." Little scholar felt the big shots twisted in her thoughts and was too depressed to speak. It began to miss its enchanting, trashy vase host. Although her mind wasn't normal either, and she wanted to pounce on cute boys, at least she was friendly towards them. Unlike this one, whose mind was full of schemes to step over the male lead's glorious sacrificial corpse to ascend. No, no need, I'll do it myself. Su Kingxi refused her helping hand. Rong Huan could only let out a disappointed oh. The chance to suppress the male lead was missed, what a pity. This protest was taken in by Su Kingxi's eyes, and his heart was suddenly pricked by a needle. She shouldn't be like this. She should be proud and unrestrained. How could she show such a dejected side? The root cause of all this evil was his own hesitation. A deep sense of compensatory guilt suddenly surged in Su Kingxi's heart. He wanted to see her smile. Su Kingxi, are you not ready yet? The Chinese language teacher was baffled, completely unaware of what this child was doing standing there dumbfounded. She thought perhaps a genius's mind thought too much and accidentally froze. Towards her proud student, the Chinese language teacher was exceptionally lenient. It's okay if you can't recite it. Why don't you sit down first? No, I want to recite it now. No one is allowed to stop me. The calm top student suddenly roared. The little girl sitting in front of him was so startled that her pencil fell to the ground. The Chinese language teacher, what kind of tone is this, like being kidnapped by a bully? Then you recite it. The Chinese language teacher inexplicably thought of the truly notorious bully sitting brightly beside him and couldn't help but swallow. To be honest, these two sitting together, really? Damn it, they looked like a married couple. No, she must have been seeing things. She was old, but she didn't want to experience any plot involving a bully couple-student mixed double attack. Facing the more than 40 pairs of sparkling eyes in the entire class, Su Kingxi swallowed, closed his eyes, and steeled his heart. Today I'm going all out. Reed's luxuriant do just risen. The one I long for is on the other side. Isn't it just a high-risk romance that could easily lead to broken limbs? How could he miss true love because of fear? He didn't believe that with his beauty and his intelligence, he couldn't handle a normal human like the Jiang family. He believed that as long as he put in the effort, with enough grinding, an iron rod could be ground into a needle. He would become the most resourceful and cunning black gang wealthy son-in-law ever. By the time he finished reciting the entire poem, Su Kingxi had brainwashed himself, and his ideological realm had elevated to the point of, if I don't go to hell, who will? Jianghu liked him so much. It would be difficult for her to like anyone else in the future. Maybe she'd be single her whole life. How could he ruin her life? Fine, it was all a fated misfortune. He had no parents, nothing left but himself, so he could only offer himself to repay this debt of love. The young man's courage came quickly and went quickly. By the time Su Kingxi realized everyone was looking at him, his whole body was cooked red like a shrimp by the heat. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a top student creating a public confession out of the ordinary before? Su Kingxi sat down awkwardly, not daring to look at his female deskmate's face at all. He didn't expect his female deskmate to be looking at him sinisterly. Wasn't it just reciting a 4-character poem? She could do it too. Then Jianghu straightened her back, her voice especially loud, the kind that could blow off the roof. What would she recite? She recited the most well-known one. Guanju. Guan, cry the ospreys on the river's isle. Gentle and graceful is the fair lady, a fit mate for the gentleman. Oh, as Jianghu recited, something felt off. Why were her hands itching, as if a swarm of tiny ants were crawling on them? She lowered her head and saw a fingertip quietly, stealthily hooking her pinky finger. Vin Hone, what are you doing? Who told you to hook my finger? Could it be that the custom here is to hook fingers politely before a fight? In short, the male lead's sudden actions left the big shot speechless. Because she was so speechless, big shot Vin Hone had no choice but to ask for help from Little School Senior, who was known as an education expert and had slain countless male leads, to help analyze the enemy's strange psychology at this moment. Little School Senior? It was broken. It also didn't know why the male lead would do that. Could it be, I see your finger is pretty, let me play with it? As a learning system that knew astronomy above, geography below, and understood ancient and modern times, Little School Senior couldn't just watch its image as a divine being collapse. How embarrassing would it be to be asked one question and not know 3 answers? So it integrated the recently occurring situations, along with the big shot's well-structured testimony, and cautiously said, perhaps the male lead wants to distract you, to sexually harass you so you can't recite. Education expert Little School Senior was successfully led astray by Vin Hone. It now looked at the male lead with an evil halo of a mischievous child, seeing nothing but harassment. Vin Hone was excited. See, I wasn't wrong, this thing is deliberately targeting me. She glared back with an unfriendly gaze. As if sensing the gaze from above, the owner of the finger became even more shy, the pink on his ear tip spreading to his whole body at a visible speed. To prevent him from continuing to harass her, Big Shot Vin Hone simply grabbed his hand directly, fixing it on the desk so it couldn't move. In front of them was a thick stack of books, and the teacher didn't know what the two were doing. Only the classmates behind them saw clearly, their eyes wide, afraid they would miss this historic event. Vin Hone quickly finished reciting, then quickly sat down, planning to settle accounts with the male lead. His hand, which she was pressing down, moved, then flipped its direction. Fingers intertwined. The big shot fell into a long silence. Little school senior, help me search online, is the custom for fighting here to interlock fingers to warm up. Little school senior. Rong Huan stared at the two intertwined fingers. The male lead's fingers were very fair, slender, and long, like a beautiful work of art, making her originally somewhat fair hand look yellowish in comparison. I'm a little angry, Rong Huan said to Xiao Zuge, her voice faint. Someone who hadn't bathed for a month was actually fairer than her, who bathed twice a day. She was very angry. She was very jealous. Should she also try not bathing for a month? What if this was the male lead's unique beauty secret? Xiao Zuge didn't know that the big shot's intestines had already twisted into 18 mountain bends. Fearing she might suddenly explode and splatter the male lead's blood 3 feet high, he quickly pleaded, "Oh my great one, brother will kowtow to you, please don't be impulsive. The female lead hasn't even appeared yet." If you cripple the male lead, how are we going to proceed with the plot? The big shot thought for a moment with her toes, then suggested with great interest, how about a human ghost romance? Think about it, separated by life and death, loving but unable to be together, then a tragic tomb. She became lost in her own imagination, unable to extricate herself. Xiao Zuge's face instantly turned green. Oh my god, what kind of devilry is this? Isn't it good for us to be all sweet and sugary? And a tragic tomb, do you want the female lead to be chemical fertilizer? Considering Rong Huan's glorious past, Xiao Zuge had no choice but to lift his broken, dumpling-like heart and repeatedly persuade Rong Huan to abandon her terrifying ideas. One person and one system were chatting enthusiastically, completely oblivious to what was happening outside. Meanwhile, the male lead was sitting on pins and needles. The teacher couldn't see him holding Rong Huan's paw, but the people behind him could, especially since the two of them were sitting in the 4th row, with 2 more rows behind them. As long as they lifted their heads, they could notice the commotion here. Su Qingxi was very anxious. Behind him sat 2 noisy male classmates who usually threw erasers or spun pencils during class, making a racket. But now he didn't hear a single sound, it was too quiet. He couldn't help but turn his head, only to meet over a dozen pairs of eyes looking over in unison. It was as solemn as a salute, utterly tragic. Hero, may you rest in peace. Su Qingxi. A few even secretly wiped away tears and gave him a thumbs up. Sacrificing himself for his classmates, what a good kid. They must have thought that the academic big shot couldn't bear to see them suffer from nervous breakdowns all day, so he resolutely jumped into the school tyrant's fiery pit, preparing to use his delicate and slender body and his compassionate heart to sacrifice himself for others and reform the school tyrant. The classmates were so moved that their tears and snot flowed freely. They secretly thought that they must cover for the diligent academic big shot's great act of self-sacrifice for justice this time. They absolutely couldn't let the teacher discover that the two were dating, otherwise, the academic big shot's lifelong reputation would be ruined, and how would he marry into a good family in the future? The Chinese teacher was flipping through her book and lecturing, but she started to feel puzzled. Why were those 2 rows of mischievous boys so quiet today, like they had taken the wrong medicine? She looked up and was so startled she almost fainted. She saw over a dozen people uniformly tilting their heads, looking in the same direction, their faces full of reverence and emotion. It was as if believers had seen a bodhisattva descend to earth. The Chinese teacher's scalp tingled. She braced herself and followed their gaze. Dai, there's nothing outside the window. What exactly are they seeing? The literature teacher sighed, then felt this was a collective prank by the students. Angrily, he called out the names of several mischievous kids, asking them what they were doing, staring outside all day. The students, afraid the teacher would discover that the top student and the class's most formidable big shot were dating, spoke up one after another to defend themselves. "Teacher, I'm looking at the clouds. They're shaped like crab bread, looks delicious." "Right, I saw it too. Next to the crab bread there's a tiger prawn." "Teacher, I can testify. Next to the tiger prawn there's also a squid, so plump." "Wow, it really is plump. Tonight I want to eat a seafood feast." "How about we go to my house for a barbecue?" "My dad just bought a new set of tools." "Hey, you guys are too disrespectful, Count me in for dinner." The literature teacher, "I think you bunch of brats who ignore your teacher are asking for a beating." Kingxi heard their protection of him and felt even more embarrassed. He wanted to pull his hand away, but the other person held it tightly, not allowing him to escape. The male lead's handsome face flushed and he called her name, Jianghu. "How about you rein in your paw first?" However, Big Shot Wrong and the learning system were in the midst of a fierce confrontation. According to reason, what's wrong with a human-ghost romance? How exciting, how tantalizing. Imagine, during a blood moon, a yandeer-blackened little handsome ghost, crawling onto a soft girl's bed in the dead of night, pulling up a belt, and then? Little school bro's worldview was crumbling, and he said, fuming, "Shut up. No illegal driving of small cars is allowed here." Rong Huen's face was full of innocence. "I don't even have a driver's license. What small car am I driving?" "Don't interrupt me yet, the story isn't finished." So that little ghost crawled onto the bed, lifted the blanket, and used the belt. Little school bro wailed in despair. "It's over. My ears are going to be taken by this devil for the first time." Kingxi called her name, but she didn't respond. The other person had a serious expression, as if engrossed in reading a textbook. The young man who had just confirmed his relationship was always anxious about gains and losses. He speculated that perhaps the other person was unhappy with him calling her so unfamiliar. He went through it in his mind once and changed the address again. Huan? Just a single intimate nickname was enough to make the innocent male lead's entire head steam with heat. However, Rong Huan still didn't respond to him. Kingxi couldn't help but blush and glare at her. Still not satisfied, who was this person, relying on his affection to act so recklessly right? He reached out his other hand, pinched a piece of flesh on Rong Huan's arm, then shyly lowered his head. "Wife!" Kingxi's heart pounded, almost leaping out of his throat, but his heart felt as sweet as honey, so sweet that he overlooked his body, which was so nervous it felt like it was about to explode. At this moment, Rong Huan was annoyed. Just as she was about to make little school bro burst into tears, it actually pulled a dirty trick and muted her. And little school bro was supposed to be an education expert. Hadn't it heard that famous Western saying, "I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it"? Why couldn't it let her speak? Oh, she was so angry. In a fit of rage, the big shot heard the words, "wife," coming from somewhere unknown, and without thinking, she retorted in a harsh, angry tone. "What do you call me, wife? Call me husband. Call me daddy, call me grandpa, call me ancestor, call me my omnipotent master. No, I'm still angry. She wants to break up with Xiao Zuge for 3 minutes. Not a single minute less. What, husband?" Kingxi was utterly shocked. They had just confirmed their romantic relationship, and she was already yelling at him. Sure enough, a woman's heart is like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Once obtained, she doesn't cherish it. And that's not all, she even wants to be the husband. Where does that leave his dignity as a man? Kingxi wanted to hug his head and cry. Could it be that as a son-in-law marrying into a wealthy family, he doesn't have any human rights at all? The academic genius had suffered an unusually severe blow. This was the reliable conclusion reached by the students of Class 3 after half a day of observation. When they passed by the academic genius's seat, a thick wave of resentment swept past them, making their scalps tingle as they were stared at one by one. Someone truly couldn't bear it anymore. Taking advantage of Kingxi's trip to the restroom, they bravely asked his deskmate, "Aren't you going to do anything?" Everyone immediately looked at this classmate with great respect. What a brave soul, actually confronting the big shot face to face. What am I supposed to do?" Rong Huan pulled the lollipop out of her mouth, her tongue still dark green, which made her look less intimidating. The questioner was Zhang Kun, the most mischievous boy in the class, who happened to sit behind Kingxi. This kid's eyes darted around, clearly a quick-witted person. However, he loved playing games and had no interest in joining gangs, having once subtly declined the kind offer of Song Yi, the former school boss. Rong Huan noticed that this kid was not only quick-witted but also familiar. As soon as Rong Hyun spoke, he immediately plopped down on the desk, sticking his fluffy head close. Manage your academic genius wife? If you don't say it, I will, sis. You're good at fighting, but you're really not good at coaxing people. Brother Sue has been angry for several classes, and you haven't even noticed? Speak properly, I don't fight. Rong Hyun emphasized the latter part of the sentence. She had already said that day was a mistake, so why did no one believe in her innocence? Zhang Kun's eyes sparkled. Understood, understood. Brother Yi's level isn't even enough to get stuck between your teeth. I knew then that my decision not to hang out with Brother Yi was correct. See, I finally waited for the true Dragon Emperor. Sis, does your sect still accept disciples? Can you make me a left or right protector? Rong Hyun. This old lady thinks you need to start from the first lesson of Chinese phonics. How can you distort the meaning of the question and still get into the top class? Fei Mao and A Zhen, who were eavesdropping from the next desk, looked furious. How infuriating. Just because he occupied the prime feng shui spot next to the boss, he opened his mouth and asked to be a left or right protector. Do these old veterans agree? Zhang Kun saw the future boss's speechless expression and decided he needed to display some extraordinary ability. So, he fearlessly, in front of everyone, intimately whispered into the big shot's ear. Actually, coaxing people is very simple. You need to know that when someone is in a bad mood, it means their brain needs a little serotonin or dopamine supplement. Rong Hyun had recently been dizzy and nauseous from learning these unfamiliar terms and didn't really want to think. She just wanted to sit back and enjoy the fruits of others' labor, so she humbly asked, "Then what should I do?" Zhang Kun showed off what he had learned, raising his head like a proud peacock. That's not easy, is it? Just give them candy. Candy? It's that simple. Eat what? A sinister voice sounded from beside them, startling Zhang Kun so much that his leg buckled. He then realized that the surroundings had been cleared at some point, and even his good friends were standing against the wall, giving him a go-well look. I saw you two chatting very happily just now, completely disregarding everyone else. Su Qingxi's face was covered with a thin layer of water droplets, sparkling with tiny bits of light under the sunlight, beautiful as if he wasn't a real person. He looked at the person expressionlessly. Zhang Kun swallowed hard. Brother, listen to my explanation. The male lead sneered. I'll listen to your NGH, NGH, NGH. A lollipop was roughly shoved into Su Qingxi's mouth. Everyone's eyes widened. Lemon flavor, I think it's not bad, do you like it? Rong Hyun said slowly, completely belying the swift, precise, and ruthless action she had just performed. After inserting the lollipop, she even deliberately observed the male lead's expression. His ears turned red almost instantly. You, what are you doing? He mumbled, his words unclear with the lollipop in his mouth. He said this could coax you. Rong Hyun immediately shifted the blame, pointing at Zhang Kun beside her, her face full of righteousness, completely devoid of any guilt for betraying her teammate. Zhang Kun was sold out so unexpectedly that he was stunned for a moment, then stammered, But I didn't tell the boss to feed you candy." "What?" "Fed candy?" An incomparable sense of shame broke through his head. The male lead successfully fainted. Rong Hyun quickly and deftly pulled him into her arms and then reprimanded her newly initiated subordinate. "Look at the good you've done." Zhang Kun was on the verge of tears. How did this mess end up on his shoulders? Although it was someone else's predicament, Big Boss Rong considered herself an elder, so she waved her hand grandly and said, "I'll take responsibility." Everyone watched speechless as the big boss, with her slender arms and legs, effortlessly carried the person as if he were a sack of rice and disappeared after a few steps. Rong Hyun took the person to the infirmary. An elderly doctor was in the infirmary. He took one look at Su Qingxi's condition and shook his head at her. "After he wakes up, you should still take him to the hospital for a checkup. His body is too weak, he looks like a paper tiger." Rong Hyun agreed wholeheartedly. According to Little Schoolmate, the male lead was an unyielding orphan. Although he received many scholarships, he was extremely frugal with himself, not even willing to eat anything good. While striving to maintain his position as the top student in his grade, he also worked part-time until dawn. It would be strange if his body were healthy. Little Schoolmate observed the male lead's pale face, and its sympathy overflowed. It couldn't help but retort to Rong Hyun, "Look at you, being so overbearing. What if the male lead really dies young? Won't your conscience bother you?" Rong Hyun touched her nose. All right, she admitted that feeding him candy was intentional. She purely wanted to tease him because he had a cold face. Who would have thought the male lead would be so competitive, stimulated by her to the point of fainting directly? Rong Hyuen stayed by his bedside for 2 hours, right until the dismissal bell rang. No matter how little schoolmate tried to persuade her to go back to class, the big boss stubbornly refused, confidently stating that she had to take responsibility. What if the male lead developed a psychological trauma because she left? More seriously, what if he developed gynophobia? Then wouldn't the female lead be heartbroken and jump into the Yellow River? Little schoolmate's mouth twitched, finally resigning itself to the big boss's shameless and lazy behavior. When the protagonist slowly regained consciousness, he was stunned the moment he saw her. His face, which had just calmed down, showed signs of fever again. As if remembering something, Su Kingxi's expression immediately became very strange. He first tremblingly touched his collar, let out a sigh of relief, then quietly reached into the quilt to check if his shoelaces and belt were still there. This series of actions was taken in by Rong Hyuen. She was incredibly complex, feeling that her absolutely magnificent and pure persona had been insulted. Zio Zuji, am I the kind of beast who would take advantage of someone sleeping to do something outrageous? Zio Zuji thought to himself, isn't that exactly what you are? The male lead was even afraid you'd use too much force and break his drawstring or chain, then what? As a proper learning system, Zio Zuji quickly dismissed his own thoughts and comforted her, saying, how could that be? Your hand hasn't left your phone just now. Someone like you, a true gentleman, certainly wouldn't become a beast. Rong Hyuen gritted her teeth, so you're saying I'm not even as good as a beast? Zio Zuji fell into a suspicious silence. This is what you said yourself, it has nothing to do with my family. Fortunately, Rong Hyuen didn't want to bicker with little school senior. She rubbed her face, revealing a broad, elder-like smile. Kingxi, let's go to the hospital for a checkup later. Su Kingxi's hair stood on end. Go to the hospital for what? He clutched the quilt tightly to his chest, so scared that his lips trembled, his face turning from red to white, then from white to red. In short, the young man's worldview was undergoing a complex process of collapse, reconstruction, collapse, and reconstruction. Big shot Rong Hyuen didn't have that much patience to coax someone. After a few words, she couldn't help but reveal her devilish nature, impatiently raising an eyebrow. If I tell you to go, then go. I said I'd be responsible, and I'll be responsible to the end. The pitiful male lead was forced to the point where tears welled up in his eyes. Why do you have to be responsible for me? You explained clearly. No, I'm not going to the hospital. Today, whether you want to go or not, you're going. I don't like leaving loose ends. Anyway, throwing the male lead into the hospital and having him nursed back to health was the doctor's business. She just needed to pay a little money. When the female lead took over, she could conveniently grab a small stool and learn the female lead's 18 tricks for chasing a husband. However, Rong Hyuen thought about how she was painstakingly learning and still had to pay for the male lead's troubles, and crucially, this person wasn't even happy. What? Doing a good deed and still being disliked. The big shot felt unbalanced inside, and her actions were quite rough. She reached out and tugged at his quilt. Get out, don't make me strip you naked. Her words simply meant pulling off the quilt, but her fierce expression was unbearable. Su Kingxi was both embarrassed and angry, struggling even more fiercely. Su Kingxi was tall and lanky, but malnourished, so he was naturally no match for Rong Hyuen. In a moment, she had stripped him of his quilt. Seeing him struggle, Rong Hyuen instinctively used her close-quarters combat moves, using just one leg and one arm to lock his limbs. Let's see how you'll escape now. Rong Hyuen let out a domineering laugh, her knee pressing against his lower abdomen. No one has ever dared to kick me. If it weren't for this brat's delicate skin, she really would have taught him a lesson. No sooner had she spoken than the person beneath her turned even paler, his whole body exuding an aura of despair. He slowly turned his face away, tears raining down in his heart. He really must have been blind to fall for a beast. Bang, the door was gently pushed open. The two people on the bed instinctively looked over. The person who entered was a woman wearing a long-sleeved cheongsam with a string of smooth pearl necklaces around her neck, looking as if she had stepped out of a Republic of China-era painting. She walked with standard small, graceful steps, elegantly gathering her hair. Who would have thought that upon looking forward, her eyes would nearly pop out in fright. You, what are you two doing? Rong Hyun didn't expect to see her birth mother at school. However, Su Kingxi, taking advantage of her dazed moment, suddenly threw her off. Without even putting on his shoes, his pale feet pattered as he ran behind Jiangmu. He took this elegant middle-aged woman for a school leader or teacher, and thinking of his recent encounter with a tiger-like situation, the young male lead in the throes of his first crush couldn't help but shed a few pure tears, sobbing, "Teacher, she just tried to commit a crime." Rong Hyun was stunned. What's going on? What's going on? Don't think that just because you're good-looking you can twist facts. She felt extremely wronged. Mom, don't listen to his nonsense, I didn't. Su Kingxi suddenly had a bad premonition. Could this teacher's name be Mother? No, he misheard, it must be Ma. Don't worry, daughter, Mother understands. He saw this teacher Ma's eyes light up, and she immediately abandoned her small, mincing steps, a storm-like gust blowing past Su Kingxi's face. Bang! The wooden door was slammed shut. Su Kingxi only had time to turn his head. By the door, a black high-heeled shoe, having been kicked off by its owner, spun continuously, clacking and clacking. He stood expressionless, then saw a slender, pale arm quietly reach out from the door crack, fingers hooking the high-heeled shoe. Then, with a whoosh, it flashed into an afterimage. Jiang Hyun found it hard to describe her complex emotions. My mother is here. She remembered Jiang Mu was a demure young lady who would blush and lower her head at the slightest provocation, walking as slow as a tortoise. Xiao Zuji's emotions were even more complex. If I'm not mistaken, your mother is giving you privacy. No one will enter this room for a short while. Truly a genuine birth mother. What was Jiang Mu doing here? She was bored at home when she suddenly received a phone call. The other party claimed to be Jiang Hyun's younger brother, speaking anxiously that their future sister-in-law had fainted. Jiang Mu was so excited she spoke incoherently. This was great. Her little piglet was finally going to root for a cabbage. But it seemed to have rooted a bit too hard. How could she have made someone faint? So she thought long and hard, slapped her thigh, and prepared for a brand new mother-in-law and daughter-in-law meeting. The result was such a huge shock as soon as they met. Jiang Mu felt that as an enlightened mother, she should understand and approve of the younger generation's way of loving. So she quickly stood guard and gave her daughter privacy. After standing for a minute, Jiang Mu seriously considered the appropriate age for her to become a grandmother. She stretched out a finger and calculated she was 36 this year. If her grandson was born next year, she would have to take care of him for at least 10 or 8 years, and by then she would only be 46. She thought about how elegantly she lived and maintained her health. She should be able to live to 99, so was becoming a grandmother at this age too early. As soon as this thought appeared, Jiang Mu immediately became restless, turned around, and dismantled the door. Facing two pairs of shocked eyes, Jiang Mu coughed, placed the door's corpse to the side, and smiled gently at the dazed male daughter-in-law. "Student Su, I am Jiang Hyun's mother. Is it convenient for us to chat?" Next, Su Kingxi was dragged out. The 1.76 m tall him was completely unable to escape the grasp of the 1.55 m tall Jiang Mu. He gave Jiang Hyun a pleading look, but the latter merely waved at him, showing a sympathetic but helpless expression. In reality, the big shot was secretly delighted. "Xiao Zuji, do you think my birth mother is going to teach the male lead a lesson?" Like throwing a 5 million yuan check in his face and telling him to get out of my world. Although she would be heartbroken by such a huge sum, she was still very happy to see the male lead suffer, who told him to insult her pure character just now. Xiao Zuji rarely snorted. "Do you think you're watching a melodramatic soap opera? 5 million. 50,000 would be more like it." So, one person and one system made a bet on this issue. At this moment, Su Kingxi was dragged by Jiang Mu to a long bench by the flower bed. He licked his lips, the air filled with a nervous and strange atmosphere. As soon as he saw Jiang Mu's attire, the smooth silk cheongsam, the gleaming pearl necklace, he knew it couldn't have cost less than several 100,000. And he was just a poor student. There was a clear disparity in their family backgrounds, his and Rong Hyun's. Su Kingxi couldn't help but feel his spirits sink, but Jiang Mu seemed to think of something, turned around, and pulled out a blank check from her bag. Rong Hyun, secretly observing, was overly excited. "System, do you see? This is what they call a mother and daughter's telepathic connection." "Auntie, you are?" Su Kingxi's eyes widened. What? He actually encountered the legendary rich madam who breaks up couples with 5 million. "First meeting, a small token of my regard." Jianghu smiled broadly, handing the filled-out check to him. Don't dislike it. As the saying goes, a soft mouth bites, a short hand takes. She wanted Sue to thoroughly feel the warm care from an elder of the family and then gradually guide him. She had already planned it all out in her mind. Listen to Auntie, at your age, studies should be your priority. It's not too late to have children 2 or 3 years later. You should respond to the national policy of late marriage, late childbirth, and eugenics. Listen to that, how understanding she was. Jianghu wasn't very keen on becoming a mother-in-law too early. Seeing the check, a wave of sorrow surged in Su Qingxi's heart. How could his pure and beautiful love be bought with money? So Rong Huan heard the male lead say with particular righteousness, "No, please give up on this idea. I will not agree to you." His words almost moved her to tears. What kind of divine love was this? She decided that she would be nicer to the male lead from now on. Jiang Mu was surprised for a moment, not expecting such a strong reaction from him. She wondered if she had given too little, failing to show her sincerity, so she added another 0. When Su Qingxi saw that string of beautiful zeros on the check, his head no longer spun, his heart no longer felt heavy, and he felt refreshed and invigorated. He respectfully accepted the check, and then respectfully bowed to Jiang Mu. "You can rest assured with my work. I will drop out of school immediately, go abroad to study, and absolutely will not return before I'm 30. Jiang Mu? For some reason, she felt a little uneasy. Her daughter wouldn't hit her right. Boss, don't get agitated. Agitation is the devil. Ziozuji desperately broadcast its brainwaves, blocking the rampaging demon king. It's not your money, so of course you are not agitated. Rong Huan painfully clutched her wrist. It's not 50,000, it's 50 million in breakup fees. That's enough for this old lady to buy how many bags of spicy sticks of different flavors. Ziozuji could only watch her majestically and spiritedly leap out of the bushes, and then with full force, let out a loud shout. "No, I don't agree." Jiang Mu's mouth hung open. Where did this wild monster pop out from? Rong Huan ignored the two people's dumbfounded expressions, threw the patch of grass on her head backward, and a scream immediately rang out. The boss ignored the tragedy she had caused, took a step forward, grabbed Su Qingxi's fair hands, and righteously said, "Student Su, you are still so young, so pure, how can you be corrupted by this kind of external material wealth?" Su Qingxi slightly opened his mouth. "I actually quite liked this feeling of being corrupted." Rong Huan persevered and encouraged. "Do you still remember our oath under the same blue sky, under the same red flag? Every minute, every second, study hard, go all out, not let down our youthful years, and fight for the future of our motherland." Su Qingxi hesitated. Actually, he studied hard to earn more money and enjoy a more luxurious life. Because of her recent battles of wits with Ziozuji, Rong Huan had squeezed dry Ziozuji's artistic cells, evolving from simple chicken soup deception to shameless retreating to advance. She lowered her eyes, looking utterly devastated, like a wilting chrysanthemum in the wind. "So all of this was just my wishful thinking. I thought we could take the college entrance exam together and realize our ideals together." Ziozuji couldn't help but interject. "Boss, you've only known the male lead for 2 days. When did you ever talk about such highbrow stuff as ideals?" Rong Huan acted as if she hadn't heard anything at all. Just when Ziozuji was defining Rong Huan's deception as a trick that even a 3-year-old wouldn't fall for, the male lead actually believed it. "Are you serious?" Su Qingxi stared brightly at Rong Huan. His eyes were indeed beautiful, like a dazzling starry sky. "You want to take the college entrance exam with me and realize our ideals together?" Rong Huan nodded vigorously. Really, so male lead, you should quickly elevate your revolutionary thinking and ascend to enlightenment as soon as possible. As for those vulgar yellow and white objects, well, she felt it would be quite good for her to keep them. "Okay, I promise you," Su Qingxi readily replied. Rong Huan breathed a sigh of relief, and a devil crawled out of her heart. She thought to herself, the male lead is really easy to trick. She pondered how to swindle the 50 million. Then it's settled, we'll go to the same university, live in the same room, get married, and have children together. The young man tightly grasped her hands, a damp sweat seeping through the fabric, like sticky toffee. He gazed at her sincerely and passionately, as if looking at the whole world. "Rong Huan, Ziozuji, I always feel like something isn't right. Ziozuji, I've been single for too long, I can answer that question. It fell into deep contemplation. Could it be an indecent seduction system, or is it that it was born wrong and instead of being a learning system, it should have become a romance system? The hosts and task takers it has brought along, each one seems to have been shot by Cupid, constantly overflowing with the sour smell of love. Thank you for liking me so much. Sukinxi, the aloof top student, had two blushes on his face, shyly twisting and saying, "Husband." Rong Hyun was shocked. Wait, what liking, what husband, classmate, are you perhaps mistaken about the main point? Unfortunately, the male lead didn't give her a chance to refute. He grabbed her hand and ran clatter-clatter to Jianghu, then bowed deeply and said very solemnly, "I know you made this decision for our future. However, I am Rong Ji's person in life and Rong Ji's ghost in death. I will put in 12 parts of my spirit to supervise Rong Ji to study hard and strive to get into a key university." Rong Hyun opened her mouth. "I don't really understand the meaning of what you're saying." Jiangmu slapped her thigh heartily, applauding on the spot, and praised, "Good, good, good. As expected of my old Jiang family's daughter-in-law, smart and considerate, you couldn't find one even with a lantern." Rong Hyun's eyelids twitched. "You guys. Could you consider the opinion of the person involved?" She was still in a daze. Why didn't anyone explain it to her? Jiangmu took off the jade bracelet from her wrist and said with a face full of affection, "Good child, mother came in a hurry this time and didn't bring any good gifts. I've wronged you. This is our old Jiang family's ancestral treasure. Mother has worn it for 16 years, and now I want to hand it over to its 17th owner to keep." Then Rong Hyun watched expressionlessly as Jiangmu forcefully pushed the bracelet onto the male lead's wrist. Sukinxi was, after all, a tall and thin boy, and his joints were naturally wider than a girl's. Jiangmu pushed for a long time but still couldn't get it on, clenching her jaw, her face turning red with anger. What kind of ancestral broken bracelet was this? That old man must have seen her as young and easy to fool, saying it had spirituality and could become big or small when it met its true owner, completely eliminating worries about not being able to wear it. Now this was good, making her lose face in front of her daughter-in-law. And Sukinxi also held his breath, his butt clenched. He was the fated male lead, and he didn't believe he couldn't wear this family heirloom. Rong Hyun watched the two of them compete for a long time, but still couldn't resist her meddling habit. She reached out and lightly pulled Sukinxi's wrist muscles. The jade bracelet immediately slipped on. "It's on!" Jiangmu cried tears of joy. So this treasure really had spirituality and recognized its owner. She not only happily gained a daughter-in-law, but also preserved her last shred of mother-in-law dignity. And the male lead shyly glanced at Rong Hyun. Sure enough, she was his true destiny. Being stared at by two pairs of flirtatious eyes, Rong Hyun felt completely unwell. She shivered, dropping goosebumps all over the floor, and urged Jiangmu to hurry back, saying they still had classes. Jiangmu could only reluctantly stroke her smart daughter-in-law's head, trying to absorb some good luck. "Zai, mother will come to see you again when I have time. Oh, by the way, do you like strawberry-flavored chicken soup? That's mother's specialty clear soup. I'll make some for you to try someday." Sukinxi blushed and accepted the elder's kind intentions. Rong Hyun finally couldn't stand this strange mother-in-law and daughter-in-law atmosphere and dragged the male lead, running wildly into the teaching building. Sukinxi couldn't bear the intense running and softly slid down. Rong Hyun casually scooped him up and said offhandedly, "Your body is too weak, you can't handle intense exercise, that'll be troublesome later." She heard that universities had this thing called military training, and the most common activities were standing in military posture under the scorching summer sun and daily laps. Based on the male lead's noodle-like limbs, he'd probably be the first to collapse. Later, I'll train well." Sukinxi quickly glanced at her, then lowered his head, his ears so red they looked like they were bleeding. 1 hour is still possible. Rong Hyun showed a worried expression for the male lead. 1 hour is too short, isn't it? A day of military training would last at least 7 or 8 hours. Sukinxi's legs felt a bit weak, and he said timidly, "Then, 1 hour and 5 minutes. Rong Hyun was speechless. How was that any different from 1 hour? Suddenly, she cleverly thought of a legitimate reason to get back 50 million and said mysteriously, "Actually, I can teach you how to last a whole day, oh no, 7 days. Of course, as a teacher, I also need a little remuneration, right? Not much, 50 million will do. I guarantee you'll graduate perfectly." Sukinxi's face instantly turned crimson. He hurriedly pushed her away like a rabbit whose tail had been stepped on. Shut up. Don't say it. Rong Hyun saw that the 50 million was about to run away and immediately used a chokehold move, gently imprisoning him in her arms, half threatening and half coaxing. You think about it, is your life more important or money? 50 million, 7 days and 7 nights, it's not a loss. Su Kingxi tightly clutched his collar. Inside, tears rained down. If you're lying, you clearly just want to trick him into becoming a full-time house husband at a young age. Regarding the issue of 7 days and 7 nights versus 50 million, Rong Hyun and the male lead had a very big difference of opinion, which made her hands itch, really wanting to beat him up. So she raised her hand high. Su Kingxi nervously closed his eyes, his breathing stopped. Bang! A resounding sound. When he opened his eyes again, the other party had left him with a swift figure, and even waved, "Fine, I won't argue with a child like you. I'll leave the 50 million for you to buy candy." Su Kingxi covered his forehead, which had been flicked red, then dazedly clutched his heart. Damn it, this old man really has to be the man of a gangster boss now. Little school bro was suddenly caught off guard by Big Boss Rong's unexpected move and asked blankly, "You just let 50 million run away like that?" This really didn't quite fit the big boss's excellent personality of extreme stinginess. Rong Hyun smiled kindly. "I'm just a good student who studies hard and strives for progress every day. How could I do something bad like robbing a classmate? Didn't you teach me that? So it's safest to act in secret, just put a black stocking over their head, simple and efficient." Little school bro was made to doubt life by her words. The scumbag big boss just reformed like that? This world is a bit fantastical. However, after returning to the classroom and sitting down, Su Kingxi also caught up, placing a box of iced milk and bread on Rong Hyun's desk, and said softly, "You didn't eat anything this afternoon. Drink this to fill your stomach." Little school bro, my God, what kind of attribute is this high and mighty scholar awakening? Is it a devoted wife? Rong Hyun thought about how she was going to ambush and rob him in a dark alley later, and immediately felt a little guilty. No, you should eat it. You slept for so long, you must be hungry too. I'm not hungry, you eat. I'm not hungry either, you eat. I'm hungry, give it to me to eat. Classmate Jianghu, who was passing by, his eyes lit up, and he quickly patted his flat stomach, emphasizing seriously. This afternoon I only drank 1 cup of milk tea, 2 chocolates, 3 roasted chicken wings, 4 small meatballs, and played basketball for 30 minutes during PE class. It's all digested, I'm really hungry now. As soon as he finished speaking, the boy who had been looking embarrassed at Rong Hyun stared at him expressionlessly. Have you done your Chinese test paper? Have you written your math homework? Have you listened to your English listening comprehension? You play ball every day and get fat like a ball. Aren't you letting down the ball you bought? I'm sorry, I was wrong. Zhang Kun covered his face and ran away in shame, finally unable to love his ball properly. Su Kingxi turned his head back, looking harmless. Eat, Rong Hyun. She felt like she had witnessed an incredible scene, wondering if the male lead would kill her to silence her. Su Kingxi took her expression as acquiescence, tore open the plastic straw wrapper, inserted it into the box's hole, and offered it to her with both hands, completely lighting up his virtuous wife and good mother skill. With the straw already at her mouth, Rong Hyun had no choice but to open her mouth. She took a few sips, and from the corner of her eye, she saw the other party's eyes suddenly brighten. Then a small red blush appeared on his cheek, looking like a shy little daughter-in-law. Next, Su Kingxi tore open the transparent packaging of the bread and even thoughtfully asked her, "Do you want me to cut it into small cubes for you?" Rong Hyun swallowed the cold milk with difficulty, forced out a smile. "No need, thank you, classmate Su." The other party bit his lip. "Still calling me classmate Su? Huh, what? No way," she realized belatedly. Su Kingxi leaned close to her ear, his hot breath fanning her. "Hyun-ji, my mom calls me Zai, you can call me Zixi." Rong Hyun directly spat out her milk. The male lead was absolutely possessed by a ghost. She guaranteed it with her noble human head. Fortunately, this was during the break, and there was no one at the front desk. Su Kingxi skillfully wiped away the milk stains, then took out a small packet of tissues, intending to wipe Rong Hyun's mouth. No, I'll do it myself." Such a 180 change in attentive attitude was truly terrifying. Rong Hyun was so scared her soul flew away. As soon as class was dismissed, she quickly rode her small motorcycle, speeding back home like a streak of lightning. She needed the spicy sticks under her bed to calm her nerves. "Hey, boss, wait up." Fei Mao and Zhen stretched out their short legs and chased with all their might, but still couldn't catch up with their boss's lightning speed. They had no choice but to return dejectedly. Carelessly, they bumped into the future sister-in-law who had just walked out of the school gate. They surrounded him eagerly as if they had met their savior, talking a whole basket of words all at once. The gist was that their former boss, Song Yi, the man who dominated the entire school, had been discharged from the hospital. He had called each of his younger brothers, strongly condemning their group of traitors for their short-sightedness, and also advised them to turn back and start anew. Little Yiji also said that he wanted to challenge Rong Huan to wash away his humiliation with the most intense blood. Fei Mao sighed. "Oh no, what do we do? Little Yiji is going to make a big move this time. He's invited the bullies from other high schools to back him up. I heard they're all tall and strong, and some of them just got out of juvenile detention. They're really fierce." Zhen also showed a look of extreme despair. Su Qingxi narrowed his eyes. Have Song Yi and these bosses and little brothers met before? The two younger brothers didn't understand what he meant by his question, but still answered honestly. No, little Yiji likes to act mysterious. He doesn't bother interacting with other bosses. But they should exchange photos of their bosses, right? As soon as the words fell, the younger brothers heard their future sister-in-law snap his fingers. "Who among you has a computer? The kind with good gaming specs." They looked at each other. Could it be that the future sister-in-law had given up on treatment and was preparing to buy a durable helmet for their boss? The next day, the two younger brothers flew to school, their eyes as black as a panda's. Rong Huan looked at these two, who seemed to have had their essence sucked dry by a demon, and kindly patted their shoulders, sighing like an old man. "Young people, you still need to exercise restraint." "Restraint? Restraint from what?" Su Qingxi, with a small braid tied on his forehead, walked over. His usually neatly buttoned uniform was loosely pulled open, one pant leg was high and the other low, and he was chewing gum, looking very much like a delinquent. Fei Mao and Zhen looked at the delinquent sister-in-law, then trembled as they looked at the hand resting on their shoulders. No, they didn't want to lose an arm or a leg at such a young age. At this moment, Rong Huan was utterly shocked. In just one short night, what kind of stimulation had the male lead endured? After Su Qingxi finished asking, he continued to be aloof. Although he was secretly watched throughout the class, he remained expressionless and calm, adapting well to his new image. When it was noon, he didn't even put away his books, kicked his chair aside, and walked out. Fei Mao and Zhen quickly followed. In a narrow alley, a vast crowd of people were packed together, all burly and muscular, making Fei Mao's teeth chatter with fear. "Hey boss, it's true what they say, meeting you is better than hearing about you. I've admired you for a long time." Su Qingxi greeted him with a calm expression, neither arrogant nor obsequious, which made the boss quite appreciate the courage of this scrawny young man. He instructed him, "Later, when we fight, you stand further back, don't mess up your smart head. You're our strategist." The male lead smiled shyly. "You flatter me too much. To be able to serve under a hero like you is my greatest honor." The refined words made the boss very comfortable. Indeed, it was the cultured people who knew how to please. Usually, when he wanted his subordinates to praise him, all they could say was, "You're so fierce," with no novelty at all. Then a commotion was heard, and another group of people, mighty and imposing, entered the scene. The boss roared wildly, "Little ones, charge, crush the enemy's dog heads." Boom, boom, clang, 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 the two groups clashed, and the battle was exceptionally fierce. Meanwhile, Fei Mao and Zhen took advantage of the chaos to escape the alley, only to see their big sister-in-law leaning on the wall on one leg, elegantly taking out a mobile phone. He then put on a childish girl's voice, "Hello, police uncle. Here there are bad guys fighting, and they even have watermelon knives. Why, there's blood everywhere, boo-hoo, I want my mommy after that." He reached out and hung up the phone, broke open the phone casing, crushed the SIM card, and smoothly threw it into the trash can. The two subordinates, "We seem to have seen something incredible." Subsequently, the big sister-in-law's eyes casually swept over them, and he let out an "Ah, you all saw it." They hugged each other, trembling. No, their eyes instantly went blind. They saw nothing. "Please don't kill us to silence us." Just then, justice descended from the sky. Their boss appeared. Rong Huan had noticed that the three of them hadn't returned for a long time, especially the male lead's unusual behavior, which made her very uneasy. She thought for a moment, picked up Su Kingxi's pencil and sniffed it, then followed the scent. Why did you come out? Su Kingxi was a little flustered. At this moment, the battle in the alley was reaching its climax, with wails and howls everywhere. Rong Huan glanced at it and then lost interest, withdrawing her gaze. She then saw the male lead trembling badly, and a wave of pity welled up in her heart. It was time for her to save the lost little lamb. So the big shot reached out and gently covered Su Kingxi's ears, her tone unusually gentle. Look at you, so scared yet still trying to act like a bad boy. Why don't you come back with me and study properly? Then, the subordinates watched in shock as that ruthless and vicious young man blushed slightly, looking incredibly innocent, and softly said, I'm so scared, those people are so fierce. Huan-ji, it's so good to have you here. Holy cow, big sister-in-law, are you a chameleon-like crybaby? When the little brothers respectfully held a surrender letter over their heads and presented it to Rong Huan, she was utterly bewildered. Rong Huan was already in her second year of high school. She felt that no task-taker was more diligent than her, waking up earlier than chickens and sleeping later than dogs, immersed in studying every day, unable to extricate herself. So, why would she, who had perfectly established the persona of a good student, suddenly receive a strange surrender letter? This surrender letter was clearly exquisitely packaged, with a reddish-brown, smooth outer cover. Upon opening it, 2 large headshots were pasted on opposite sides, below which were names and dates of birth, along with a small line of text explaining the surrender and choosing a master. Finally, it was witnessed by a red handprint from each person. Good student Rong Huan closed it expressionlessly, then lied with wide eyes, All right, I know, I'll drink their wedding wine on time. Fei Mao was stunned for a long time before scratching his head. That's not right, boss. This is their surrender letter. He emphasized seriously. It's a surrender letter sworn with pricked fingers. It was said that on that day, the police arrived at the alley and escorted both gangs back to the police station. Because there were quite a few injured people, it was defined as a malicious brawl, and the ringleaders were arrested for a year. This stint in jail even fostered a mutual reliance and friendship between them. Then, Song Yi and the Black Boss began to recall their past glorious deeds. The two suddenly realized with a shock that their current predicament was too coincidental, so coincidental that it made them feel a kind of fear of being manipulated by a genius. Their type of thugs were basically straightforward. If they didn't like someone, they just beat them up. Where would they come up with such convoluted schemes? They believed that Jiang Huan's move of borrowing a knife to kill was chillingly effective. First, she sent her little brothers to infiltrate the enemy ranks to muddy the waters, probing the temperaments of both bosses. Then, she began to sow discord and fan the flames, hiding a knife in her smile. And that wasn't all. After the two sides clashed, she called the police, giving them a catch-a-turtle-in-a-jar treatment. Everyone was thus caught like crabs and forced into custody. All 36 stratagems were probably used up. The two bosses couldn't help but hug their heads and weep. They were just innocent, passionate, and hot-headed teenagers. Why did they have to be treated with such high IQ, cruel methods that targeted their underdeveloped brains? Finally, in the day-by-day recollections of the two bosses, their fear of Jiang Huan intensified. They also deeply believed that people with their kind of simple minds should best not go against those with deep schemes who played with human hearts. Otherwise, they wouldn't know when they might end up dead on the street, or be sold and still happily help count the money for others. For their future personal safety and career development, Song Yi and the Black Boss were very motivated during their year in jail. The two academic underachievers worked together to produce two decent-looking documents, experiencing early on the bitter hardship of writing theses until their hair fell out at a young age. However, they were still very satisfied with their results. On the left was a report discussing their prevention of accidental death and maintaining life health, and on the right was a detailed and factual report on the career development of a gang protector. The two documents were like guiding lights, illuminating their path forward. Following Boss Jiang is definitely the right move. So, as soon as their sentences were up, they eagerly came to cling to his leg. Who would have thought, though, that their incredibly creative surrender letter would be returned to them, completely untouched? Xiao Yeka and the gang boss were dumbfounded. What does this boss mean? Zhen remembered what the future sister-in-law had told him. Don't say anything, just show a profound and unfathomable smile. Zhen didn't quite understand how to express the four complex characters, profound and unfathomable, with his face, but he felt that it probably meant something like, I was born to disdain the mortal world. So he imitated the world-beating heroes from TV dramas, giving a weary smile. Invincible, yet so lonely. Then he shook his pants and left. The gang boss was stunned for a long time, then suddenly slammed his fist. Damn it, he's a ruthless one. All right, I'm going to follow him. Xiao Yeka let out an ah, completely bewildered. Why did this idiotic brute suddenly get so excited? The gang boss, frustrated that he wasn't living up to his potential, slapped him. It's a wonder your math scores are higher than mine. Protector Zhen is saying that if we want to join, we must present a proper initiation gift. So, the two of them, in a fit of madness, tied up the 9 young masters of the Jiang family. Thus, one day when Rong Huan returned home, Jiang Leizi handed her an iron safe, solemnly saying, From now on, you are the 3rd head of the Jiang family. You must act ruthlessly and viciously, only then will you live up to the prestige of our ancestors. Rong Huan? Jiang Leizi then hesitated a bit. After all, they are your brothers. Go easy on them, at least leave one leg, it'll be convenient for using a crutch. Rong Huan? The big shot thus took over the gang in a state of utter bewilderment. Xiao Zuka was so depressed he wanted to cry. Rong Huan expressed that she sympathized but couldn't help. This was the mischievous little imp of fate playing tricks. One person and one system were unhappy for a long time. After finishing her college entrance exams, Rong Huan stayed in the luxury villa, not wanting to move. Her points were now far, far away from her. Even if she became a prominent gang young master, what was the difference from being a salted fish? Suddenly, they received a small mission. The gist was that the beautiful and sweet female lead arrived late, realizing she had missed the opportunity to cultivate a sweet first love in high school. She was truly filled with regret, so she decided to directly open the university arc of the plot. To leave a deep first impression on the male lead, the female lead spent points, used a luck card, and wholeheartedly created a romantic encounter with the male lead under perfect timing, location, and circumstances. Rong Huan was a hidden passerby mission taker. If she could help the female lead achieve her wish, she could absorb the female lead's points. She was deeply excited. What was this if not a pie falling from the sky? This was it. However, Xiao Zuka uncharacteristically hesitated. Aren't you afraid the male lead will go crazy? Throughout these 3 years of high school, the male lead truly switched between dog-licking and housewife modes every day. Sometimes, when he got an idea, both modes would activate, almost giving Xiao Zuka a heart attack. Only the big shot remained completely stable. Rong Huan sighed. You don't understand. This is a young fellow in puberty relying on a strong person. He'll be fine once his epileptic fit passes. Xiao Zuka currently really wanted to have an epileptic fit for the nerve-wrackingly calm big shot to see. For the points, Rong Huan painstakingly calculated and chose an auspicious day for the male and female leads to meet. The teacher appreciation banquet would be good. Class 3-1 of senior high performed well collectively in the college entrance examination, with most students getting into first-tier universities, especially Su Qingxi, who firmly secured the top scholar position nationwide. As for Rong Huan, she expressed that she had truly tried her best. Although her talent for mischief was extraordinary, she clearly hadn't inherited excellent genes for studying, barely scraping by on the first-tier university admission line. But this wasn't important. What was important was that she wanted to pin the male lead label on the female lead. Being stared at while studying, being stared at while eating, and even being stared at while sleeping was truly terrifying. Okay. Rong Huan excitedly called the guy who loved to stare at people. Zai Xian, you'll go, right? You absolutely, definitely will go, right? It was just a normal meal. Su Qingxi originally didn't think much of it, but her solemn tone startled him, making him involuntarily nervous. Could it be that she was planning to propose that day? Wait, he hadn't even confessed yet. But they had been inseparable for these past 3 years, so perhaps it counted as an unspoken confession. Su Qingxi's heart sweetened, and he repeatedly assured her that he would definitely attend. Rong Huan indeed saw the female lead at the thank you banquet. She heard the location of the thank you banquet for Class 3-1 of Experimental High School No. 1 and deliberately worked as a waitress for a few days in advance. Rong Hyun watched her wearing a white dress, her chest well-developed, revealing 2 smooth legs, perfectly illustrating an angelic face and a devilish figure. Such a girl, when she acted a bit clueless, was especially easy to forgive. This doesn't seem to work on the male lead. Do you actually have eyes? Soo Kingsee's shirt front was stained with a large patch of wine, his face icy cold, his words utterly merciless. The wine glass is 34 centimeters away from me. May I ask how you miraculously managed to poke the rim of the glass onto my chest? The girl's expression was embarrassed, extremely unnatural. She had done so many missions, and men were invariably infatuated with her beauty. How could anyone be so unfeeling as today? All right, just go back and change clothes later. Rong Hyun quickly intervened to mediate. This atmosphere was getting a bit awkward. Soo Kingsee pursed his lips, finally saying nothing more. However, when Rong Hyun pulled out a tissue to wipe him, the male lead's reluctance immediately turned into extreme delight, his eyes radiating pink bubbles. The people around them automatically kept a distance of 34 centimeters. After the thank you banquet, it was a casual KTV session. Without teachers, everyone let loose. Some were already so drunk they wanted to climb on the tables. Rong Hyun wasn't interested in a bunch of kids wailing and howling, so she casually took 2 sips of a drink. The taste was strange. That was the alcohol I just poured. The male student next to her was stunned. It was over. He had made the academic god, the Buddha, drink alcohol. It would be a miracle if Soo Kingsee didn't beat him to death when he returned from the restroom. Rong Hyun glanced at him, having tasted it. She was a big shot who could drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. The junior student hesitated. That, your body seems a bit sensitive to alcohol. How sensitive, you ask? Sensitive enough to instantly turn a silly big shot into a kissing maniac. The male classmate stared blankly as the person pouted and leaned in. Bang! He was slammed against the wall by someone who broke through with force from behind. Why do you want to sit so? So? Soo Kingsee's annoyed questioning got stuck. She kissed him. The youth's cool, slightly soapberry-like scent immediately enveloped her. What are you doing? A kiss ended, he shyly lowered his head, his ears flushed terribly. Everyone is here. Following that were a series of continuous smacking sounds. Don't be like this, I am going to get angry. Rong Hyun, in a drunken state, let out an "oh" and planned to passionately kiss the girl next to him, but Soo Kingsee, with a livid face, pulled him back. After greeting, he directly carried the person away. The secretly peeking female lead saw her target leave and hurriedly followed, discovering that he had gone to the underground garage. Soo Kingsee got his driver's license immediately after growing up and bought a car for transportation with his scholarship. He occasionally drove it, mainly for the lazy big shot Rong Hyun, who didn't like walking. It's a car. The female lead's eyes lit up. This was truly a pillow delivered when one was sleepy. She only needed to perfectly bump into the porcelain, wooden tee that create countless opportunities for contact. So she smoothed her dress, planning to make a beautiful, tragic collision like a celestial maiden scattering flowers, determined to make the male lead deeply feel her beauty. The car lights were bright. She was fully prepared, pretending to rush out carelessly and then feign injury. Screech! The car stopped 1 meter away from her. The car window rolled down, revealing a handsome, pale face. His dark, deep eyes stared coldly at her. Get lost. Otherwise, I'll send you to see the sky. The female lead was completely stunned. She could see the male lead's half-face sticking out, along with a pair of hands resting on his wrist, which were bare. After uttering the cruel words, Soo Kingsee immediately blushed and coaxed her. Hyun-ji, don't make trouble, let us go home first. Then, he drove away, leaving the female lead utterly bewildered. Rong Hyun felt like she had a ridiculous dream. She dreamed that she passionately kissed the male lead and even tied him to the headboard, doing indescribable things. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw a pristine white ceiling and her heart felt a little relieved. It was indeed a dream. She was satisfied and continued to sleep, but then she turned her head. She froze. He was there. Zio Zuji said to her in a floating tone, "It wasn't too long, just 7 hours, hee. Rong Hyun silently untied the ribbon from the male lead's hand. Heaven knows where this ribbon came from. She was very annoyed. So she lit herself an after-sex cigarette. Heaven knows why this pack of cigarettes and lighter were placed on the bedside table. In short, she was very confused, completely ignoring the abnormality. Dante smoke. Behind her was a hoarse male voice, melodious and extremely sexy. A broad, warm chest pressed against her back, and then 2 fingers reached out, took her cigarette, and crushed it in the glass ashtray. Was it me who initiated? Rong Huen asked. Su Kingxi softly rubbed his head against her neck, like a lost cub seeking protection, the meaning self-evident. Rong Huen sighed, all right, if you don't mind, when you turn 22, let us get married. Su Kingxi's tail wagged wildly, his eyes sparkling. A clever idea suddenly popped into Rong Huen's mind. Zio Zuji, you see, although I didn't get first place, I captured the person who got first place. Does this count as a different kind of mission completion? Zio Zuji, bah, you wish. When Su Kingxi turned 22, he impatiently dragged her to organize the wedding. Everything was perfect, except a big pig suddenly rushed into the wedding venue. The bodyguards caught it and asked how to deal with it. Rong Huen casually said, I just got hungry, make it into roasted suckling pig. The big pig squealed loudly. Host, it's me, you're everything. The grooms smiled and said, why aren't you leaving quickly? If you're slow, I'll roast you all into suckling humans. The bodyguards trembled. Rong Huen received a system electric wave and immediately spoke, let's still give up. Being a mascot is quite good. Su Kingxi was her die-hard fan, his eyes shining brightly. That's right, a mascot. Pigs are good, high-yielding, can give birth to a football team of little piglets. Don't you agree, Huan-ji? Rong Huen gave him a cold look. He immediately softened, saying, I'll give birth, can't I just live? He knew Rong Huen wouldn't get angry, precisely because he understood what a gentle person she was. Su Kingxi contentedly took her hand. It was truly super lucky. He finally fulfilled his great dream of being a big-shot gangster's man. End of the whole text. We appreciate you listening to the story at Audio Love Tales. Kindly like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content.